Hello, hello. Testing, testing. I think we're all set. Just gotta get YouTube sorted, and then we'll be good to go. Hello, hello. Testing, testing. Thank you for the welcome. Yeah, I was visiting family. All right, let's just double check. I think audio is all set. Um, R136A1, it actually kind of does roll off the tongue though. That's the funny part. Like R136A1. Like the numbers that they have that are in the name are, if it was R738, that'd be a little bit different, but R136A1 is just great. It's just a great name. Dr. Blitz believes something came from nothing. No, I don't. More astronomy content these days. So there's currently a thing going on TikTok that you can win like 5 grand if you make the best astronomy video or something like this. And so, may as well, right? What do you think about the contingency argument? It's not particularly compelling to me. Let's pull up my notes. Is there an inner and outer event horizon? There is for rotating black holes. Yeah, which is weird. That's definitely weird. Holy Gore, you know that sarcasm doesn't transmit well through text. How can we move from one second to another if there are an infinite number in between? That's where calculus comes in. So you can have a finite rate of change passing through an infinite number of moments with no issue. Why isn't bro at work? This is a part of my income. I do my research in the afternoon, and I do my content creation in the morning. That's the thing. I mean, we'll see what happens come fall. I'm applying again for more jobs this cycle, but we'll see.
Hey, what's up, man?
Zay, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Okay. So I know that the thing says you're an atheist. So I'm
Hmm.
just curious. Were you religious before, or did you not grow up in a religious environment? Like,
I
I'm
mean,
just
I grew up in a
curious.
religious environment, but I don't have a memory of ever believing.
Okay, I got you. So was it more so like, I don't know if like cultural is the right term, but just kind of like culturally like religious, just like,
Yeah, sure.
okay, I got you. What, not what age, but I'm just asking these like context questions just so I know how to like go about the conversation.
Hmm.
Like, was it like a shift? Like, did you like decide to go out your like what was it like when you decided to like lure into like atheism?
Well,
Like
it's
what?
just never been like it wasn't a thing that happened. I just don't have any memory of ever believing it.
Oh, okay, I see. I got you. I got you. I got you. Okay, so well for me I'm Muslim. I'm not
Okay.
yeah, I'm not Christian. I think a lot I noticed that a lot of like I mean, I don't want to sound like arrogant or like on like research, but in my experience I noticed that a lot of atheists come out of Christianity just
I was
because they
never
see a lot
Christian.
of.
I wasn't
Oh,
raised in a
okay,
Christian
okay.
household.
Oh, what were you?
Is that relevant?
Oh, okay, I guess it's not relevant. So why do you not believe in God?
Well, I mean, like, it just seems like the God that people propose
Yeah.
doesn't seem to answer a whole lot of questions that we have. In fact, I would make the contention that we don't need that God doesn't answer any questions that we don't already have answers to.
Uh-huh.
And It seems like there are a lot of things that we used to need God to explain that we don't need God to explain anymore. So it just seems like why posit the existence of something if it doesn't provide any extra explanations?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I mean, I've definitely had thoughts like that growing up. Like regardless of my religion, I think people who are religious, I'm sure at some point in time they question the existence of God. I think that's only natural. But for me personally, I just feel like the question of our past, like how did we originate? I think that's the biggest answer that seems not to have an answer, right? I mean, so for you
Are you
personally,
talking about life or are you talking about like the universe? Like what are we talking
like
about here?
the like life as we perceive as we know it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I
Like
mean
our
like the answers are what would you posit? What would you say the explanation is?
well, I definitely believe in the Big Bang theory, but I attribute
Hmm.
that to God. Like, because for me, I personally feel like if in order for something to you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Big Bang theory is this it's this theory of how the universe was created, right? Or if you don't want to use the
Not
term,
really.
it,
It's more so the current scientific consensus of or the current scientific understanding of the Big Bang is closer to something like it describes how the universe changed over time. So like the universe used to be a lot smaller and now it's bigger. And so the Big Bang is an account of that happening. It's a history of that happening.
okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, but yeah, like I'm glad you cleared that up. And for me, it's like um I try to sort of like contextualize and understand how that came into existence or how that came about or whatever word you want to use, created, or whatever word you want to use. And from what I see in my own life, it's just like in order for something to exist, it has to be created, right?
Well, but
So
surely you don't believe that because you believe that God exists, but you also don't believe that God was created.
no, I do not believe that God was created.
So it's not that in order for something to exist, it has to be created.
In terms of our universe, in terms of our conscious, in terms of our like being, I
I mean,
believe that
maybe that's the case for things in the universe,
yeah, that's what I'm
but
referring to.
why does that mean that it applies to the universe as a whole?
Because I believe that God created the universe as a whole.
Right, but that's the thing in contention, right? It sounds like what you're saying is that you believe the universe as a whole must have been created. I'm just asking,
Yeah,
why do you think so?
yeah. Because like how else would it not like sorry if I sound uneducated, man, but like how else does it not like I don't know, like how
What,
else
so
how else?
how do you think that God exists? Was God created?
No, I think God is
Okay.
everlasting
Okay. Why couldn't that apply to the universe?
because I think God is the creator of the universe.
Okay, but you're asking me, somebody who doesn't think that God is real. You're asking me how else could the universe exist? And I would just hold the same standard for the universe that you would hold for God.
Oh, you're saying you would apply the same principle as
Yeah, the
to
universe is everlasting. There, problem solved.
oh, okay, I see what you mean. Okay. So what about I mean that's a great contention point. I can't like I guess we can just agree to disagree on that then. So what would you say is like the sort of thought process like not thought process but like what sign do you have any scientific evidence that you attribute that denies the existence of a god?
I don't think that these are necessarily things that really overlap. I mean, like there are certainly some notions of God that like we can scientifically prove don't exist, right? Like Zeus, the guy is sitting on top of
Yeah,
Mount
yeah, yeah,
Olympus
of
throwing
course.
lightning bolts. We can prove that he doesn't exist because we can go on
Yeah,
top of Mount Olympus. But,
yeah.
I think that at least for depending on the type of theistic claim, I don't think that science is like a thing that talks about that. Science is about a thing. Science is about what our universe is doing. Um, if you're trying to talk about things that potentially exist outside of the universe, well, then that's just not in the realm of science.
Okay, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Okay, okay. Um, are there any like what about do you feel like also the reason that you are atheist is because when you look like at scriptures like there's like contradictions within scriptures like any religion by the way like I'm not just talking
I mean,
about
that's not the reason. that certainly makes me think that I'm right. Um, but like I said, the reason is that it seems like there's a lot of stuff that um, there's a lot of stuff that we can explain already. We don't need God in order to explain it. There's a lot of stuff we can't explain, but it doesn't seem like God provides a better explanation. And there's a third thing, which I didn't mention earlier, which is that a lot of the intuitions we have about, the way things are, the way our minds work, a lot of these intuitions just kind of lend very, very easily to the view of naturalism. Um,
Yeah,
like just the idea that, it seems that we protect our head a lot. And if it were the case that like minds could exist without bodies, as is necessary for God to exist, it seems like if our mind wasn't a result of our body, it seems like we wouldn't protect our head as much, right?
yeah,
And so it just seems very weird that like I have this intuition that like I am behind my eyes, and that when I fall, I instinctively try to protect my head, not my liver. So
yeah,
it just seems like given all of our experiences, minds are attached to bodies. And if
yeah.
minds are attached to bodies and God is a mind that's not attached to a body, then it seems like I have good reason to think that God doesn't exist.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. No, I also I appreciate your respectfulness. By the way, I notice a lot of content creators that are atheists on this platform. They can be a little trolly and like they're not
You're
down for
good.
a discussion. It's just like a monologue. So I do appreciate that, man. I also appreciate the sort of insight, kind of like open my eyes on what to research more. I'm just curious, by the way. For me, I'm not about to sit here and preach. I have to get going soon, but for me,
Sure.
I'm Muslim. There's things that I read in the Quran that at the time, at that point in civilization, it's just like how could have somebody known about that, like for example how the earth orbits around the sun, not the other way around, or like the stages of like a newborn baby, right? Like when I read about these things in religious scripture, specifically the Quran, it just makes me wonder like how could have somebody known. And I definitely attribute that to my belief in God, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. So the first that so I guess there are kind of four categories of potential explanations, right? Oh, thank you for the Pharaoh mask. Is that what that is? Pharaoh something? Um, so the first category of explanation for these things that are mentioned in the Quran is just that they're actually not correct, right? It's possible that Muhammad, or in the Quran it says something and makes some sort of scientific claim and it's just incorrect about it. A good example is the fetal development one. It's actually not the case that bone first forms and then flesh wraps around it. It's kind of the opposite order. The bone forms inside of the flesh. So it's just something that Muhammad actually got incorrect. Another possible set of explanation, or another possible explanation for the things that Muhammad says, or that it says in the Quran rather, is things that were actually thought about by like the ancient Greeks or by the ancient Hebrews or by the ancient Romans, whatever. These are things that would have already been kind of in the cultural zeitgeist, if you will. These are things that people were already thinking about. For example, like the idea of, and I know that this isn't mentioned in the Quran, but for example, Democritus, who's an ancient Greek philosopher, proposed the idea of atoms, right? He proposed the
Yeah.
idea of atoms like 2,500 years ago, long before long before we knew atoms existed, but he proposed them. And so if that appeared in the Quran, it wouldn't be surprising because the ancient Greeks had this idea already. A
Okay,
third
that's
category
cool.
of explanation is that the sorry, I said that there were four. A third category of explanation is that um, what was it? The fourth one, the fourth category of explanation is that he just didn't know that. That was a lucky guess. Like that is possible. It'll happen occasionally, right?
Uh-huh.
So you have that he got it wrong, that it was already known about. Um, yeah, I don't remember what the third one was, but and the fourth one being that it was a lucky guess. So I don't know. It just seems like that we can for any claim in the Quran, usually we will find that it falls into one of those three categories, or maybe a fourth
Oh, I
that
see
for
what
some
you're
reason
saying.
I'm blanking on.
You're saying these like 4 points can be attributed to like anything stated within scripture, basically.
Um, I'm not saying that that's like generally true. What I'm saying is that for like any time I've heard these kinds of claims, like because I've talked with
Oh,
Muslims
I see.
before who have talked about these things, they always fall into one of those categories.
Okay, I see what you're talking about.
And
All
so,
right.
so oh, I'm sorry, I remember what the third one was. That it is a modern reinterpretation of an ancient thing that was wrong. So again, this is not in the Quran, but let me give you an example. Suppose for a moment that, or let me rephrase. It could be a modern interpretation of something that was not intentional, that was not intended to be read literally. So let me give you an example of something that's not in the Quran. Suppose that I had a holy book um, that said the trees were more numerous than the stars in the sky, right? That would be that, like, you and I would understand that that just means that there's a lot of trees, right? But
Yeah.
if somebody came around and said, aha, but if you count the number of trees on Earth and you count the number of stars in the Milky Way, you'll find that there are more trees on Earth than there are stars in the Milky Way. And so somehow they knew how many stars were in the Milky Way. And it's like no, obviously, it was
Yeah.
poetry. And
Yeah.
so that happens a lot too, that people kind of take things that were originally intended to be poetic or metaphor or something like this, and then they interpret it literally because it happens to be like correct when interpreted literally. So that all I'm saying is that it seems to generally fall into one of those four categories.
Okay, I got you. And then one last thing before I go. So,
Sure.
your viewpoint is that like the things. I don't know if this is a question. I'm just talking about the things that you attribute, like the people, not you, but like the things people that are religious that like they attribute it sort of to the god of the unknowns, if you may say, rather than on actual like scientific fact.
Um, what I would say is that oftentimes people, I mean, depending on who I'm talking to, of course, there are people who are going to say, oh no, evolution's not real. God just made everything 6,000 years ago. Like that happens, right?
Yeah.
But setting those people aside, most of the people will say, yeah, we have scientific explanations for these things. And then the things that we don't have scientific explanations for, well, there's this mysterious God that does it. But my issue with that explanation is that it's not an explanation. It doesn't actually tell us how it happened. It just says God did it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't explain
Yeah.
like how did God do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I feel it.
and so it seems equally unsatisfying to me, just as much as saying, oh well, we don't know how it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. All right, man. Well, I appreciate the discourse, man. I'll give you a follow, and I'll try to do like more of my own research. Next time I hop on live, we can have a better discussion.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being here, Zay.
Of course, man. Have a
Appreciate
good
you.
one.
All right, let's bring on another guest. By the way, if you guys want to support the live, there's a few ways to do it. One way is to like the live, whether you're on TikTok or on YouTube. Like the live, subscribe, share, all of these things. Definitely do that. There's also a Discord that you can join. It's in the various link places. So in my bio on TikTok, there's a link tree. Discord link's there. In the description of the live stream, on YouTube, there's a Discord link there. And then finally, of course, if you want to support me financially, that's a lovely way to do. There's lovely ways to do that. But yeah, let's continue on with the next guest. Let's bring up Magic. Magic, how's it going?
Oh, hey man, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. What God do you believe in?
Well, I believe in Jesus Christ.
Okay, cool. What would you say is the most compelling reason I should believe in Jesus?
Okay, well, I want to so you're atheist. Do you believe that Jesus ever walked the earth?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so do you believe that that could have been actual Jesus or maybe a witch or something who have
I
died
mean,
and
like,
actually come back?
there was probably a guy named Jesus who walked around
Hmm.
2,000 years ago or so in ancient Judea. He probably lived, probably existed. He probably was even crucified. Um, he probably even amassed followers. I just don't think he rose from the dead. I don't think that he did miracles.
Oh, well, you don't think, but there's books that by stories told by multiple disciples of all these miracles this guy was walking around and doing for other people, like curing sicknesses, bringing eyesight back.
There are stories about that. The question is, are those
And
stories true?
I mean, we have a book that is deciphering and showing us that stuff is coming to true to this date about that.
I don't know what you mean. I mean, the question was about historical things. What would it mean for them to come true today?
Okay, so the Bible talks about how near the end of the worlds, all these different events will happen and all this other stuff. So, meaning
hmm
like the rivers will dry up, like the moon will go blood, and all this other stuff, right? And that's
hmm
obviously not happened. But there is stuff that the Bible does talk about that is going on, like mass murder and chaos. like blasphemy of
I'm
like,
pretty sure that those things have happened throughout the entirety of human history.
oh well, yeah, because they were brought in by sin.
Well, but then how? It sounded like you were saying that these things are happening now, but
No,
that's
I
not
just said
special.
they
They've
were.
always been happening.
No, I just
So
said
what's the
I
prediction?
said they were happening now. So you don't believe, even though these books that have been written by multiple 12 disciples, okay? There's even a book
Do you
Jesus
think that the
came.
12 disciples wrote books?
No, they didn't write books. They wrote paragraphs and stories of what they saw Jesus do. Is
Do we
what they
have
did.
any writing from any of the
Yes, there.
disciples?
Yes. You
Do
want
we
to
have
go
any?
a
Okay,
New
do we have
Testament
any
Bible?
writings from Judas?
All right, hold on. Let me get my Bible right now, and I'll flip and I'll tell you. I'll tell
Okay.
you a passage to look up. Hold on.
Wasn't there one that was illiterate? Which disciple was illiterate?
We'll go with John because John was Jesus's favorite disciple.
Okay. Yeah. So
John
are you
3:19.
are we? So we're talking about the book of, or like John, the gospel, like the Gospel of John, right?
Yeah.
When do you think the
disciple who
Gospel
wrote
of John was written?
John, the disciple who wrote this.
When do you think it was written?
I mean, before years ago. There's not really a date on it.
Do you think it was written by a person named John who knew Jesus?
Yes.
What evidence do you have for that?
I mean, no, his real name, I mean, it's probably, they used different language and different stuff back then. So it's probably been translated to John, but, it's pretty much John.
How do you know?
Because the Bible says so. And the book
Where
of
does it say?
Revelation
Sorry,
says
where?
so.
So wait, are we talking about the book of Revelation or are we talking about the Gospel of John?
Bro,
Which one are we talking about? Also, by the way, John was uneducated.
Everyone was uneducated back then.
So how could he write?
Yeah, okay, so how did he write? That's my point.
He didn't write this.
If he was uneducated, then how does he have the ability to write?
He didn't write it.
So when God came to him in his prison cell and told him to write the book of Revelation, the end of the world,
think that happened.
We have the book to prove it.
We have a book. Where's the proof that God commanded somebody to write it?
So a big bang happens and all these particles
That's a
and
cool
cells and
goalpost
stuff
shift.
just align for no reason. Just because of a bang.
That was an enormous dodge. Do you want to answer the question?
No, I'm trying to get like what your understanding is right now.
Do you want to answer the question?
If you believe we're on a rock for no reason.
That's fine. If you want to question my worldview, that's fine. But first, I'm going to make you admit that you actually don't have proof that John wrote the gospel or that John wrote the book of Revelation.
Yeah, I do have proof. Jesus says he does.
Okay, where did Jesus says he did? Where did Jesus said he did?
Bro, the whole book is disciples telling their story of what Jesus did.
So did Jesus, hold on, did Jesus ever say that John wrote the book of Revelation?
Jesus said, yes, he did. He came to John in a prison
cell. So what's the verse?
And told
what's the
John,
verse where Jesus says John wrote the book of Revelation?
He went to John in a prison cell and told him, he gave him a pen and paper and told him to write what I'm about to tell you.
Sorry, where's the verse that says John wrote in past tense the book of Revelation?
I'm reading so many Bibles right now, and you think I'm going to know the verse dead on? Google it, bro.
You're the one making the claim. I would imagine you would have the proof.
Okay, and you want me to go into my Bible and look it up rather than you just type it in?
You have a Bible right there, right? Don't you?
Yeah, okay. I have multiple. It's going to be hard to find the exact passage I'm looking for, man.
Well, here's the thing. There is no attestation of John writing the Gospel of John, and there's also no direct attestation. Okay, to be clear, you will find no verse anywhere that says that John wrote the Gospel of John. Second thing, you will find no direct attestation of John being the author of the book of Revelation. Now, it's even possible that John actually wrote the book of Revelation, but you will find no direct revelation or direct attestation.
So you don't believe in a creator?
No, I don't. I do not.
So you believe in the Big Bang? Like it just happened and we're here for no reason. We're just humans that evolved from apes.
Yes, I generally do believe that humans evolved from non-human ancestors, and we are also apes.
Oh well, I can't really argue with rocks, man.
You can't argue with rocks? Where did we say anything about rocks?
It's I mean, you're just like, there's no proof God ever said this, because there was not, like, bro, that's way back then before anything. Like,
So then why do
there
you
wasn't
believe it
even
if there's
there
no
wasn't
proof?
even doctor records, because
So
that's a word called faith, man. You gotta have faith.
why should
You
I
can't
have
just sit.
faith? You can have faith if you
If
want,
there
but why
was
should I
no
have it?
creator, if there's no creator, then what's the point of life? Why not just kill yourself right now? There is no
Because I
point
like
in doing
life.
anything. You, okay, then what
If well,
happens when you
hold
die?
on. If Magic, if you believe that there's an afterlife and you're going to heaven, why not just go jump in front of a truck?
Because that's not
Get to
how it
heaven
works.
faster.
It's not how it works.
Why not?
Suicide's a sin.
Okay, so why not you just go sacrifice yourself in order to save somebody? Then you're not doing a sin. You're sacrificing
I
yourself.
mean, I guess
So why not go do that and just go to heaven?
it's not as easy just to find someone in that kind of situation, but
Literally,
okay.
it's super easy. There's like 3 places where people are being like unalived all over the place in the world right now. There are a lot of
There's
places that you could go to just
the
go
army
save
and
people.
stuff. Okay, I get that. Okay, the army.
No, don't join the army. What? No. No, go to like go to like sub-Saharan Africa, go to like Gaza, go to like Yemen, go to like it's where is it? Not Eritrea. Maybe it is Eritrea. Like go to any of these places. Go to Ukraine. Like plenty of places. Sudan. Yeah, there you go. Like there are plenty of places where you could go sacrifice yourself to save people, to save like, innocents. Oh, it is Eritrea. Okay.
Then yeah, I guess, I mean, that would be good to do. I mean, in a way, but
But you don't do it, so, clearly there's no afterlife, right?
well, that's thousands of miles away from me. It's not exactly as easy
Wouldn't you want to get to
there.
heaven as fast as you could? It's the best place
Yeah,
in
but
the
there's
universe
other
to be.
ways to get there. The Bible states many ways to get there.
Well, you have to die
No,
first, right?
the biggest thing I've always found with atheists and stuff, I swear, I'm not just saying this. My mom passed away, and I was the biggest atheist.
I'm sure you were the biggest atheist.
God out.
Actually, Magic,
I
before you continue, question. If you were the biggest atheist, what was your best argument against the existence of God?
Okay, that's a good one. My biggest argument against it, because my girlfriend used to be really big in Christian. I got on her about it, argued with
No,
her.
I'm not
some-
asking for an event. I'm asking what is your best argument? What is the best
Why does God let people suffer?
justification?
That's what my biggest.
Okay, so
my
the
biggest
problem of
what?
evil. All right, what's your what is your current explanation now, given that you
lets us-
now believe that God exists?
Okay, he lets us suffer to show us that there's better and worse, bro. There's meanings and lessons in everything. Even suffering, there's beauty in suffering.
So,
Because
you
if you
familiar-
don't
do you
know
remember,
true suffering, you'll never know like true peace.
so Magic,
never-
Magic, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Okay, so you were, sentient during the Australian wildfires. Do you remember this? This was like 4
Yeah.
years ago. They were like enormous, and estimated 3 billion animals were burned alive as a result of the Australian wildfires, right? So what is the beauty there?
Weren't those wildfires created by man?
No, I don't think so.
Or what were they? What started them?
I think it's actually unknown.
Okay, so
but,
it could have been man.
it's one of these things where like wildfires start all the time from like lightning strikes.
But it was a sunny day.
It wasn't sunny over the what? It wasn't sunny over the entirety
If
of
it was a
Australia.
lightning- It was unknown, meaning it could have still very well been a man that started it. Some homeless guy.
I
some
can
freak in the woods.
well no, it happened in the middle of nowhere where no one was really alive, like no one lived. So
Because people don't hike. Yeah.
okay, so now you're assuming that it was caused. Okay, so why did God let it spread so bad?
Because God gives us free will. If a man's going to
Wait.
create a fire, I'm not saying a man did it. It could have been lightning.
Well,
it
you
could
are
have been anything.
you are assuming that man did it. by the
Well,
way.
you're assuming a man didn't do it. So I'm telling you, a man could have did it. So, like I'm saying, God gives everyone free will.
Oh no,
which is when
actually, I'm
people
sorry.
murder.
I just checked. The major cause of ignition of fires during the 2019 to 2020 fire crisis in New South Wales and Victoria is reported to be lightning strikes.
Okay, congratulations. Now back to my
Okay,
point.
so it wasn't a
God
man.
gives us free will. So back to what I'm saying.
Mhm.
the way people murder, they rape, they kill. There's
What does
nothing
that
they
have
can
to do
do
with
about it.
the?
And
What does
God,
that have to do with the fire?
God.
Like, what does that have to do with the wildfires?
Okay, what's your question? Why did God strike lightning on the tree? Is that what you're trying to get me to
no,
say?
my question is what was the beauty? What was the lesson to be learned in
Okay,
the Australian bushfires?
so God told lightning to strike that tree, is what you're telling me.
Well, I mean,
Okay,
it
no,
seems
God
like
didn't
it,
tell
yeah.
You don't know. There's no reason behind it. You don't know what God did, bro. God didn't do it. God did do it. You don't know.
Is God responsible for all things, or do some things happen that are outside of God's control?
Oh my God. Okay, man. A storm, God's not going to control a damn storm, and
So there are some things that happen outside of God's control?
Oh, not more. I mean, yes, but not as if he can't control it. More like he doesn't need to control it. It's a storm, dude.
Isn't there a verse in the Bible that says that God is the creator of all things, and that would include lightning?
I mean, yeah. Okay, so because he creates it. Okay, so because
And in
God
fact, it actually
man,
might be the
okay,
case
no,
that
I'm
God
gonna stop
says
you on
that
that
he
logic.
is
I'm stopping you
responsible
on
for
that
natural
logic, please.
disasters.
I've let you talk. I'm stopping you on that logic. So because God created lightning, and all bad lightning does is on him. God created man. All bad man does is that on him as well?
Well, yeah, that would follow. Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, man. That means no, bro.
So actually, in
God gave
Jeremiah,
all free will.
I'm sorry.
Yes, free will.
So just to be
Without it,
clear,
we'd be slaves,
I know you
man.
want to pivot to free will because lightning destroys your worldview. But let's go to Jeremiah 10:13.
Just told you about that.
Let's go to Jeremiah 10:13.
You're just gonna
When it
ignore
says
that.
he sends lightning with the rain and brings out the wind from his storehouses. So it's not just that he lets it happen; he sends it.
Okay, does he send it every time? Is he sending lightning across the world?
It says he sends it. Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah.
Oh, he sends it, dude. He's controlling it when he needs to. He's doing that to send messages to people. You were just talking about this with the
okay.
last guy with metaphors and shit, and now you're
Okay,
being
so
ignorant.
so
What are
wait
you
a minute. Is
doing?
that a metaphor?
Oh
So we
my
shouldn't take
God.
that literally.
All right, I'm done with your shit, bro. Chill.
Okay.
The last thing I'm saying is the biggest
put your
problem
running
with
shoes on.
atheists, they don't read Bibles. Pick up a Bible and
Have
then
you read
before
Jeremiah
can say you don't believe
10:13?
in God, well, you don't even know about John. You said John didn't write his own fucking verse. So what are you talking
Well,
about, bro?
John, we have no evidence that John wrote the Gospel of John.
Well, Jesus is the evidence that says he did. So
Okay, where's the verse that says where Jesus says that John wrote the Gospel of John? Where's the
it's in a Bible. I'm not going to look through my Bible.
Okay, so you can't provide evidence for your own argument. You're just asserting that it
Google
exists.
does exist. You've been Googling everything to help yourself out. Why don't you
So
Google
why
something?
don't you Google it? I mean, if it's your argument, why don't you actually provide the source?
You were sitting in front of a $20,000 PC.
You can. How expensive is my PC?
Dude, you're sitting in front of a PC. It doesn't fucking matter how expensive it is. Type it in.
Okay, what do you want me to type in? I'll do it for you. I'll do your work for you.
Type in.
Find evidence
What
that
you've been asking me.
Jesus said. Okay, so I'm going to type in the question. Does Jesus say that John wrote the Gospel of John? I'm just going to read the AI overview. No, Jesus does not explicitly state in the Gospel of John that John the Apostle wrote it.
Okay. No. Did John the disciple write the story of Jesus Christ? Type that in, bro.
Did John the disciple write
the story of Jesus Christ?
All right.
It's like in the Bible, it says John followed Jesus
around.
I'm
going to read the AI overview again. I'll read the AI overview again. If you're okay with the AI overview, we can read it. While it's traditionally believed that John the Apostle authored the Gospel of John, the Book of Revelation, and 3 Johannine epistles, contemporary scholars generally agree that John the Apostle likely did not write any of these works.
Okay, bro. Okay, well, I'm telling you, the Bible says that these 12 disciples, I'm telling you again, because I guess you're hard-headed.
Well, wait a minute, but you told me to Google it, and I did, and then, wait a minute, so
12 disciples
so Google is wrong now?
Around and wrote down everything they saw him
that's
do.
the claim. I don't think that
okay,
happened.
Let me,
I don't think that they were literate.
Let me describe that.
Magic, they didn't know how to write. Magic, they didn't know how to write.
12 people followed this guy around.
Magic, they didn't know how to write. They didn't know how to write.
John wrote that.
Magic, they didn't know how to write.
Yeah, okay, bro. You're going to hell unless you repent, bro.
They were illiterate.
I hope the best for you, man.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure that's why you believe in a God that invokes an eternal conscious torment. I mean,
And
my
you believe
guy.
we came from monkeys and we're on a planet for no reason. Like, yeah, okay. You're way
Okay.
much smarter than me, man.
Yep, we grant that. Thanks for being
Fucking
here.
moron.
All right, let's bring up Jesse from YouTube. Jesse, how's it going?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm doing okay. Do you believe in God?
I do.
And which one is it?
Jesus Christ.
Okay. What would you say is like the most compelling evidence you could give me that would make me want to believe that as well?
Well, Jesus Christ. Do you accept that Jesus Christ was a real person who walked the earth?
Yeah, he probably existed.
And
Sure.
helped people.
Well,
He
I don't know if he
probably
helped.
already did. It's kind of important.
Well, no, I mean, like, I'm willing to believe that Jesus existed. Yeah. It seems
Okay.
super plausible. It seems reasonable to believe that. I mean, there are people who think that there's no evidence for that. I think that there's at least some evidence for it. So,
Well, I mean, he's well documented in Rome and in India. And
is he? Wait,
other
I
countries.
mean, we don't have to talk about that, but like, I've never heard the claim that he's documented in India. Like contemporarily at
He's
least.
documented.
So,
he's
but that's
he's
interesting.
documented in India. Yeah,
In what text, if you don't mind me asking?
Just Google it. No, he went there is what I'm saying.
So
When he
I
walked
did
the
just
earth,
Google
he
it.
went there.
I did just Google
Yeah,
it.
Google the countries.
From
Google
the AI
countries
overview.
that-
Again, if you don't trust the AI overview, we can look at the sources. But from the AI overview,
Well,
it
I'd rather
says
you just Google because I could be
I
wrong.
did.
Just
I
Google
did.
what
I
countries
literally
did Jesus
Googled
go
it.
to?
I literally Googled it. It
Okay,
says there's no verifiable
you-
historical evidence to suggest Jesus traveled to or lived in India.
No. Can you just Google what countries he went to? I might have misspoken with
did
saying
Jesus
India.
go to? Okay.
Is he
Jesus's travels.
Is he documented in?
Okay, Jesus' travels were primarily within the region known as the Holy Land, encompassing parts of modern-day Israel, Palestine, and surrounding areas. He was born in Bethlehem and spent his childhood in Nazareth. His ministry focused on Galilee and Judea, with travels to places like Samaria, Perea, and regions near the Sea of Galilee. He also journeyed to Tyre and Sidon, which are in modern-day Lebanon. Additionally, the Bible mentions a brief story in Egypt with his parents as a baby. So it doesn't say anything about India.
Oh, you're right. I said I might have misspoke, but he's documented by saying India, but he's documented well in the Middle East
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of stories about this guy.
and multiple countries. Yeah. And in Rome. Well, Rome's the important one though, and you can.
Well,
so the
Judea
list
was
that you
in
just
Rome.
came up with
It was a
doesn't-
Roman.
Oh,
Judea was a
you're
Roman
right, you're
province,
You're right.
right?
Correct. So you do accept that he was real, right? That he did walk the earth.
Yeah.
And I guess like we all need an idol. Like men need an idol. Let's just use men. Let's not talk about women here. Let's just use men. Men need an idol. So who's your idol?
Why? Why do you mean like somebody that we respect or somebody that we look up to?
Correct.
Yeah, I have like a bunch of people that I respect and look up to.
So do you think though that, let's say the stories of Jesus are real, like how he is portrayed, he helped people, he never committed sin, he said live a positive life, love thy neighbor. Are these not things you would agree with that people should live by?
I think some of the things that he said are probably good. Yeah.
Some or all? Like, can you name something that he said that's not good? Like, what about his philosophy?
Well, there's
that
a
you
thing that he
disagree with?
did. So, are you familiar with the story of the fig tree?
Sure, go ahead and say it just in case.
Yeah, so I can go find the biblical reference, but the story of the fig tree is basically Jesus was wandering around in, I want to say it was in Jerusalem, maybe just outside Jerusalem. He wakes up, he's hungry, he goes up to a fig tree. And at the time, it wasn't the season when fig trees produce fruit. So he goes up to a fig tree, and he's like, all right, fig tree, give me some figs because I'm hungry. And the fig tree doesn't because the fig tree, it wasn't in season. And so Jesus says, how dare you not give me any figs? I'm going to curse you. And then he kills the fig tree. And I don't agree with that. I think that like killing trees when they don't produce when they don't produce fruit out of season is a good thing.
He didn't kill the fig tree. He just didn't allow it to produce fruit anymore.
No, he caused it to wither. He caused the plant to wither.
Does it say that?
Yeah, I can go find the verse for you if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, this is in Mark 11. Yeah, so this is Mark 11, verse 12 through 14. And we want the NSRV,
Jesus
right?
curses the fig tree. Here you go. On the following day, when they came from Bethany,
NSRV.
he was
Here we go.
hungry, and seeing in the distance a fig tree and leaf, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for the figs. And he said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard it.
Yep.
So it's not
And
that
wait
he
a minute, hold
killed
on.
the tree.
We're not
He
done.
just said no one can
Go
ever
back.
eat fruit from you again.
Go down to verse 20.
Yep. So the lesson with the withered fig tree.
Uh-huh.
And they passed by in the morning. They saw the fig tree withered away to its roots. And Peter remembered and said to him, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed is withered." And Jesus answered them, "Have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, 'Be taken up and thrown into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him."
Well, yeah, so it is clear that he withered the
what was
tree,
bad
right?
about what was bad about killing a tree?
I think generally
What was
killing a
bad about
tree,
cutting down a tree?
I think generally killing a tree for no reason is bad. That doesn't align with my values.
Well, but he was teaching a lesson with it, right?
I think that killing a tree in order to teach a lesson is generally not a good thing. I think that he could have taught a lesson without killing a tree. Because
I mean,
I think that trees are valuable, at least have some value. Yeah. Well, you asked what are the things
producing fruit?
Well, it wasn't the season of fruit producing, so why would it produce fruit?
Well, but you're missing the point of it, though.
No, I understand that it's a lesson. My point is,
what's the point of the story? What's the point of the lesson then, if you understand it?
I mean, it's just saying that you have to have faith and you have to, give yourself to Jesus, and if you don't, then you'll wither.
And it says, when God commands it, you will listen or you will wither.
Yeah.
Why would you not accept that as a good way to lesson? How would you have taught that lesson then?
You could have just said it without killing a tree. You could have just said it.
You could have just said it without. Okay, but a tree. So you're just mad that he killed a tree?
Yeah. I think that doesn't align with my values. Well, I mean, you asked for an example.
If you ask me.
You asked for an example.
So
I gave you an example of something that doesn't align with me.
A lesson.
Yeah, I don't think that
you said
that's good.
That wasn't good. I was expecting something real, right? Like,
well,
oh my gosh!
Did this actually happen?
Like he threw 12 nuns. He threw 12 nuns off of a building. Like I was expecting.
I'm sorry.
Something. I wasn't expecting that.
Oh, so I'm sorry that it didn't align with your. Well, no, not hold on. I'm sorry it doesn't align with your expectations. That's irrelevant, though.
Well, then I would disagree with you that doesn't make him bad.
I never said it made him bad.
I would say cutting down a tree. I would say cutting down a tree.
It wasn't my contention. It wasn't my contention that it was bad. I said that most of the things that he said were probably good. I asked
you what he did
Jesse,
that wasn't good.
Stop. I'm going to mute you. I'm just going to mute you if you don't let me finish my thought. I said that most of the things that he said were good, and then you asked me an example of something that wasn't, and I gave you an example. I don't think that killing a fig tree to teach a lesson is good.
Wasn't good, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's good.
It's not good.
Yeah.
So it's bad.
I mean, yeah, sure. If you view things as not good and not bad,
why did you mute
I didn't
me
say
and disagree with me? Why
because
did
I
you
didn't
mute me and disagree with me?
I didn't say that Jesus was bad.
Agree with me.
I didn't say that Jesus was bad.
So
I said that this is a thing that he did that was bad.
Why is he not a positive role model? Why would he not be a positive role model for men?
Look, if he wants to be, if he is a positive role model for some people, that's fine.
No, but why can't he be? So why can't we use him as a role model in like schools and stuff like that? Why can we have people like who's that basketball player that died in the helicopter crash who was guilty of being a rapist and he was mourned?
Jesse, I don't know if you know, but there's certain words that you can't say on TikTok, and you're currently on TikTok, so I'm just giving you a warning.
Oh, I apologize.
You're good.
I'll say grape. I'll say
I
grape.
appreciate
How's
it.
that? The G.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. So why is it that we can celebrate Kobe Bryant in school? Who is a convicted rapist, but if we bring up Jesus Christ, folks like you complain about it and say we're violating the Constitution and that.
Well,
I assume your argument is
answer?
Christ is bad and he shouldn't be taught.
Nope, that's not my argument. And
also,
to be clear, my position is not like the context of the conversation is not we shouldn't talk about Jesus in school. That's not even the context of the conversation. That's a question about separation of church and state. It has absolutely nothing to do with whether I believe in God.
You've already accepted that my God's real.
No, I've accepted that a man named Jesus was real.
Well, right, and he was God.
Well, that's the claim that I don't accept.
Well, you have no evidence against it, and he did do
I don't.
miracles.
I'm pretty sure
he
I have
went in
loads of
front of-
evidence against it.
I don't think you do. I don't think you have
Well-
any evidence that shows he's not God.
Yeah, so if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, could he still be God?
If he didn't rise from the dead,
Yeah,
could he
if
still
he
be
hadn't
God?
risen
Yeah,
from the dead, would he be God?
sure.
Oh, okay. So so you don't think it's actually necessary for Jesus to have risen from the dead?
Can you explain to me if he didn't? Can you explain to me if he didn't, how he wouldn't be God?
Well, then we wouldn't really have reason to think he was divine, right? That's like the mark
Well,
of divinity.
That's not why. The reason why, if he didn't, actually, I would say if he didn't come back to life, if he didn't resurrect, he
Mhm.
would not be God.
Right. Okay,
because
and I have
it
reason to
was
think,
foretold.
evidence, in fact, that he didn't rise from the dead.
Well, I have evidence that he did.
Okay, so the evidence that I have that he didn't rise from the dead is that every single time that we've ever seen anyone die, they've stayed dead. That
That's
is
not
an
true.
overwhelming
People have
amount of
come back
evidence.
from the dead.
Can you give me an example?
No, I think the longest someone's been dead for is like 6 hours before, right?
I don't think that's true. But yeah, I mean, to be
Google it.
clear,
What's the longest that someone's been dead
Yeah, okay.
before? What's the longest someone's been dead
how
before?
long? And
You don't agree
Jesse,
that people have
Jesse.
died and come back to life?
so Jesse, we have to be a little bit careful here. There are various medical
Uh-huh.
definitions of death. There's cardiac
Oh,
death,
so now
which is
you want to
Jesse.
play definite. Uh-huh.
there's Jesse.
Uh-huh.
There's cardiac death when your heart stops. That happens to basically everybody who
Uh-huh.
has a serious heart attack, right? But they're not like dead.
That's
Their
not what I'm
brains,
talking about here,
right?
though.
Then there's
You don't
brain
agree that
death.
somebody that's died before has
Then
come
there's
back to life?
brain death. Brain death nobody has ever come
Uh-huh.
back from.
There has been zero activity brain found, and people have recovered from it. That is 100% a
Is that
lie,
true?
and you know
Okay.
it.
What's the well?
That's
I
true.
haven't
If
I
you
haven't
don't-
seen
if
the
you
evidence of
don't
this.
know
Where's the
that-
evidence for this?
If you don't know that, then you need to give up your PhD because wow, I can't believe. Well, just Google it. Has
Yeah, I'm
anybody
googling
ever
it.
come back from the dead?
Has anyone ever come back from brain death? No. To date, there have been no documented cases
from
of
the
someone
dead. We
recovering
just
from
said
brain
dead.
death.
You didn't say brain death. You just said dead.
So when I'm
just
talking
said
about
dead. You didn't say
death,
brain
I'm talking
dead.
about brain death. Because cardiac
Well,
death,
you didn't specify
people
that,
come
now
back from
did
all
ya?
the time. That's why I'm
Well,
specifying
how
it
do
now.
you know that's not what Christ died from?
Well, so cardiac death means that your heart stops pumping, right? Do we agree on that? What
Uh-huh.
that? So if your heart stops pumping,
No, listen.
Jesse.
You just said death, brother. Bro, you just said dead. You said
Okay,
death.
so you're
You
telling
didn't say
me, are you
cardiac,
telling
didn't say
are you
brain.
telling me that Jesus had brain function for the 3 days that he was dead, but his heart had stopped beating? Is that what you're telling me?
Are you telling me there's no possibility that he did?
Yeah, I mean, we have all of the evidence in the world that that's impossible. Yeah.
So what's the longest that's occurred for?
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the
How
record for the
long
longest
has
that's
anyone
occurred
ever
for?
had
Go ahead.
brain? How long has anyone's
You have to keep
brain
changing the goalposts.
ever
You notice that how you
been-
keep shifting the goalposts?
I'm not been deprived of oxygen? Right.
Oh,
when your
see,
heart
that-
stops.
You keep moving the goalpost.
So
You keep moving
So,
the
Jesse, the
goalpost.
question
Come
is-
on, man.
Jesse,
Come on, dude.
Jesse.
Be good faith. Can you be good
I'm
faith?
I'm
Can you be
asking you
good
to be the
faith?
same. I'm asking you to be the same, and let me actually get at my
I'm
thoughts.
trying to be good faith.
You've
man, but
interrupted
you
me
keep
over and
lying.
over again. So Jesse,
You've interrupted
if
me over
if
and
the
over
claim if the claim is that Jesus' heart stopped but his brain continued being alive for 3 days, then that would mean that his heart was no longer providing blood to his brain, right? Because that's what the heart does. Which means that his brain wouldn't be getting oxygen for 3 days. So the question is, how long has anyone's brain ever been without oxygen and then come back? That's what we need to answer. What's the longest that anybody's ever been
What's that
without
answer?
oxygen? So according to the National Institute of Health, the human brain can survive without oxygen for up to 4 to 5 minutes.
People have broke that record, though. You understand that, right?
Have they? I mean, can you give me examples? I'm just citing the National Institute of Health.
Yeah, people who hold their breath underwater. People who hold their breath.
No, they still have
underwater.
oxygen,
I think the
though.
record's been like. I think David Blaine held his breath for like 17 minutes once.
No, but they still have oxygen because they stored oxygen in their lungs, and then their heart is still pumping blood through their brain, which has some oxygen in it. That's why they don't die.
Bro, are you just Google what's the longest someone's been dead for and came back to life?
What's the longest
It's that
someone's
easy. I
been
understand
dead
you want to
for
change the
and came
goalpost. You
back
want to shift the
life?
goalpost. Yeah.
The longest documented case of someone being clinically dead, which is cardiac arrest, not brain death, and then revived
Clinically
with
dead,
full
though.
recovery.
Clinically dead.
Yeah. And then it says in parentheses, cardiac arrest. And then revived with full
Clinically dead,
recovery.
though. They're dead.
Cardiac arrest. So being clinically dead
They're
means
dead though,
that
right?
you've
They're
been
dead
in
though, right?
cardiac I mean, that's cardiac death, right?
Okay.
It's not brain death. And then
Uh-huh.
revived was with full recovery was 17 hours. So he was
17 hours. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. What did
So-
I say?
so-
18. So I was close.
so even if to be clear, we don't have any
that's on
evidence of
our
this
record.
person being
That's
brain
our
dead.
record.
To be clear, we don't have any evidence of anyone being brain dead and ever coming back. We don't have any evidence of anyone's brain being deprived of oxygen for more than, 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, and then coming back. Because keep in mind, his heart being stopped doesn't mean that they weren't supplying his body with oxygen, like technologically. And we can look up
do you
we can
believe
look
in
up this case.
miracles?
No, I don't think that
Do you
miracles are
believe in
kind of even
miracles?
I don't even think miracles are in principle possible.
Why not?
Well, because if they were, then laws of physics wouldn't exist. Yeah, so
Well,
actually,
what's a miracle? What is a miracle?
by
to
the way,
you?
before we change topics, I just want to read something really quick.
So somebody coming, hold on. So somebody coming back to life after 17 hours of being clinically dead isn't a miracle to you?
Yeah, so can I read something to you? I'm going to read the case.
No, is it a
was
miracle
Velma
to you?
Thomas.
Is it a
No,
miracle
no,
to
it's
you?
not a miracle. So Velma Thomas,
okay.
59, of Nitro, West Virginia, United States, holds the record time for recovering from clinical death. In May 2008, Thomas went to cardiac arrest at her home. Medics were able to establish a faint pulse after 8 minutes of CPR. Her heart stopped twice after arriving at the hospital, and she was placed on life support. Doctors attempted to lower her body temperature to prevent additional brain injury. She was declared clinically dead for 17 hours after doctors failed to detect brain activity. Her son, Tim Thomas, stated that, quote, her skin had
Failed
already
brain
started hardening.
activity.
Please let me finish. Her skin had already started hardening. Her hands and toes were
proved yourself
please.
wrong, so.
I'm going to have to mute you so I can finish reading. Her hands and toes were curling up. They were already drawn. She was taken off life support and funeral arrangements were in progress. However, 10 minutes after being taken off life support, she revived and recovered. So it seems like she was on life support for all but 18 minutes of the 17 hours that she was dead.
But she was brain dead, right? They said
No, it doesn't say that. It says that they failed to
They
detect
said they
brain
lost,
activity.
they saw no activity in her brain, right?
Nope.
No activity in her brain. What
It
does
says
that mean?
that they
She's brain
failed
dead?
to detect brain activity.
Bro, you are so bad faith. You're so
I'm
bad
just
at
reading what
this.
the
Why
words
don't you,
are.
like, Google some stuff sometimes?
I'm just
Yeah,
reading
they
the.
said she was
I'm just
brain
reading.
dead. She had no
Nope,
activity in her brain.
doesn't say that. Doesn't say that either. It says
Did
they
say
failed
she
to
had no
detect.
activity in her brain?
No, they failed to detect brain activity. That's what it says.
Oh my gosh, bro. What's that mean?
You're going to stop being. It means that they failed to detect brain activity. It doesn't mean that brain activity had ceased. It means that they had failed to detect it.
Yeah, and I bet you if you go ask those doctors, the reason why they declared her dead because they thought she was brain dead at that point, right? They assumed because she had lack of oxygen to her brain for 17 hours and detected no activity that she was brain dead, bro. I swear, dude. How do you not were you raised by your mom? Do you know your dad? Like, are you raised by a single parent?
Yeah.
You were raised by
No. I was
explains a lot,
answering. Yes, I know my dad. Yes.
Okay, but were you raised by your mom?
After I was 12, yeah, because my dad died.
Okay, so that explains a lot. I mean, I'm sorry to hear about your father. I
That
really
explains
am,
a lot.
but that
Jesse,
explains a lot of things.
would you say that the
That
fruit?
explains a lot
Would
of
you
things.
say that you
It
can
does.
tell a
were raised-
Christian
that's
by
why
their
you have
fruit?
an inability to use logic.
Jesse, I'm sorry. Do you think that? Actually, let me just ask you a quick question. Do you know what the law of excluded middle is?
I do. So could we
Yeah,
go
can you
back
tell?
to
Can you
Jesus
tell it to me,
Christ being
please?
resurrect?
Can you tell it to me, please?
So can we go back to?
Can you tell it to
we
me,
go
please?
back
What is the law of
to,
the excluded middle?
Can we go back to?
Don't avoid the
Christ's
question. What is the
resurrection?
law
So
of the
you're
excluded
saying-
middle?
So you're saying that it's in.
What is the law of
so
the excluded middle?
Have you ever heard of the?
Answer the question.
Have you ever
Answer
heard
the
of
question,
the
coward.
crucifixion darkness?
Answer the question,
Have you
coward.
ever heard of the crucifixion darkness?
Answer the question,
no,
coward.
let's go back to the point. That's not the
We
point.
can go
Have
back
you
to
ever
it
heard of
right
the
after you answer my
crucifixion
question.
darkness?
We can talk about that
No,
right
let's
after you answer
go
my
back
question.
to why God is Jesus.
Answer the question, coward. What
What's
is
your
the law of
question?
the excluded middle?
It's one of the 3 laws of logic.
Yeah, what is it? I'm asking you. Tell me what is the law?
I just told you. So let's go back to mine.
No. I want to know. I want to know which one. I want to know what it is,
Christ
not just what
resurrecting.
category
I
it's
just
in.
told you it's one of the 3 laws of logic.
That wasn't what I was asking.
Am I wrong?
That wasn't
Yeah,
what I
you
was asking.
asked
I'm
what it
asking
is.
what is the law? What is the law? Not what category does it fall into? What is the statement of the law? And it's super bad faith that you didn't that you don't.
What does the law do?
What does
You're
it
asking
state?
what the
What
law
is the
does.
statement of the law? Laws don't do
it's
anything.
the
They
law of
describe.
excluded middle. and
What
it's
is
part
the
of the 3
statement?
laws of
What is the
logic.
statement of the law? It takes the form of a proposition. What is the statement of the law?
I don't know. You tell me. How about
Okay,
that?
so to be clear, I'm the person who doesn't know logic, and you are, despite the fact that
No,
I
no,
know
I
what the
said you
law of the
can't
excluded
use
middle is, and you
logic. I
don't,
said you
and you
can't
don't.
use logic. Not that you know logic. You can't use
I
logic.
actually don't
You
think that is
can
what you
know
said, but
logic.
even if that's
You
the
can know
case,
the
the
three
fact
laws
that...
of logic and not be able to use them, right?
Okay, have you ever written a proof before?
You can know the three
You can
laws of
use
logic
the
and not be able
laws.
to use
You
them,
can
right?
use logic, but you're not
No,
using...
you can know the
my...
three laws and not be able to use
Jesse,
them, right?
I suppose in
Huh.
principle, but that's not a great example of me, because one of the
Okay,
things
so
that I
thank you for
did...
proving me right
So
again.
Jesse,
Anyway,
just to be
back
clear,
to the resurrection of
just to be
Christ.
clear, I'm muting you again,
So-
just so then I can let you know. Just to be clear, as a published mathematician, one of my jobs is to write proofs, which is explicitly laying out a deductive, logical argument for why a theorem is true given a certain set of hypotheses. That is like one of the things that have done half a dozen times. Well, I mean, I've done this many, many more than a half dozen times, but I've written half a dozen mathematics papers. And that's the job of writing a mathematics paper. So, I mean, it's just like factually incorrect. Now, if you want to talk about the crucifixion darkness, we can. Are you going to cite the claim that there was an eclipse during Jesus's crucifixion?
Well, there couldn't have been an eclipse during there, but there was.
Well,
There was
but
a
there
guy
wasn't.
named Marcus Aurelius Sexton, a historian named Marcus Aurelius Sexton,
Mhm.
who wrote about this and wrote about the darkness, the 3 days of darkness. And there could not have been
Sorry,
could
can
not
you
have been
tell me what his name was?
known. It was, his last name was Sexton. I think it was Marcus Aurelius Sexton.
And then how do you know how to... Is it Sextus? Marcus Aurelius Sextus?
Yeah, that might be it. I don't know. It's a Latin name. It's weird. Marcus. I can't switch to my browser, or else I'd Google the name for you exactly. But he wrote about the crucifixion darkness. I mean, his name's known on it. If you just go to the
I'm finding
Wikipedia
somebody whose
page.
name is Sextus of Caronia, but he was one of the teachers of Marcus Aurelius. Is that who you're referring to, or
No, let me see if I can get
you're
it.
looking for the crucifixion darkness, which... Oh, okay, there's a Wikipedia article on this. Yeah, good. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the Wikipedia article.
Sextus
has his
Julius
name in it.
Africanus, that one?
There you go. There. Well, I was way off.
Yeah,
I
you're
was
way off.
watching Gladiator the other day, so Marcus Aurelius is in my head right now.
It's a good movie, isn't it?
But yeah, he wrote
Okay,
about. He was a historian that wrote about it. So
just a quick
people
question
like
about
you
him.
will say
when was
that
he?
it was just an eclipse. Hold on.
Just a question. When was he alive?
He wrote about this about 45 years. No, the original documentation about this was the guy who originally wrote about this died, and the documentation ended up being destroyed. But Sexton was alive during that guy's time frame and studied with that guy.
So who was the guy that? Who was the first guy that wrote
the
about
documents? I can't remember what his name is. You'd have to. It's in the article.
I'm looking right now. So it's talking about the Gospels. Okay, but we know that the Gospels are not going to be the kinds of things that we want to cite.
So this event though took place over Passover. So
are we talking about the Gospel of Peter?
That Romans knew when. Hold on. So you
are we talking about
you agree
Tertullian?
that the Romans. Hold on. So you agree that the Romans knew when eclipses were going to occur, right?
I don't actually know what.
Already able to predict.
I'd believe it if you told me that they were. But yeah, there.
Okay,
and
so they
in
were
fact, we
able to
actually
predict
know
them.
that there
Okay.
were no eclipses during this time, during the time that he would have been crucified.
No, there was. It was documented. Even Rome documented it.
Well, no. I
There
mean,
was
like
a
the moon.
3-day there was
The
a
moon
3-day
wasn't passing in.
eclipse.
The moon wasn't passing in front of the sun, is what I'm saying.
Well, you're right. It couldn't have been because it was Passover to the Jews. Jews were celebrating Passover at that time, so we know when it occurred, and we can go back and we can see that there was that scientifically, right? There would have been no eclipse at that time.
Right.
But it is
that's what I'm saying.
documented. It's documented in Rome. It's documented all over the Middle East. It's documented.
Where else are the contemporary documents of this? Because Sextus Julius Africanus wasn't contemporary. He was born 130 years after Jesus was crucified, right? So
sure.
So who was writing about this as it was happening?
The historian that wrote about it before.
I'm not. So
Sexton.
I just skimmed through the Wikipedia article, and granted, I skimmed through it, but I didn't see any other names or any other text besides things like the Gospels.
In the crucifixion darkness page?
Yeah.
Hold on, let's see here.
Oh, are you talking about Phlegnon of Tralles?
I would have to.
So Phlegnon Phlegnon of Tralles lived in the second. He was born in the early second, so he was born like 80 years after Jesus or something like this.
So you'd have to look down in the section, the section that says ancient historians. There's names in there for you.
Tertullian.
I mean, I don't know why you would overlook that. I can't
No,
see
so
what
I
you're
did.
looking at,
I
but
did.
when there's a section that says ancient historians,
so I
and
did.
you say there's no names, I mean,
Jesse. Well, I was looking for people who were contemporary. So Tertullian was born 120 years after Jesus died, and then all of the later accounts, for example, Origen was 200 years after Jesus died.
The original documents were admitted to be burned.
So wait, we don't even know.
The historians that existed that studied that were still alive within a reasonable amount of time.
So who wrote the original documents, and where is them citing that there was an original document?
The name. I can't.
It's not on here. It's not here. There is no statement about an original document.
Who originally wrote?
Okay.
The Crucifixion Darkness, or who originally wrote about it?
So it says that it's in the Gospels, and then furthermore, there's non-biblical historians like Thales, Phlegnon, and Africanus. But all of these people existed.
Yeah, there you go.
All these people existed 100 years after Jesus was born.
No, not all of them. Not all. Well, I mean, even so, that's a reasonable amount of time.
No, but then they couldn't have been there.
It's not an unreasonable amount of time.
Then they couldn't have been there. They couldn't have been there to witness it, right?
Well, again, I already said the original historian that wrote about this, right? Because remember, you've already said a lot of people were illiterate back then, right? They couldn't read and write. So very few people that could have actually read and wrote about this, right? So the original guy that wrote about this within the church, his documents were destroyed. A lot of documents were destroyed when Rome burned. You remember the burning of Rome? You remember when that occurred? Have you ever read about that or know about it? You said you don't know much about Rome.
When you say the burning of Rome, are you talking about the city? Because the burning of Rome...
Well, when there was a point in time, okay, you'll have to look this up. There was a point in time...
The Great Fire of Rome was in 64 AD.
Yep, and all of the documents about this... Yeah. So it might be. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Well, because if the documents about this were what the later historians based their text on, the later historians would have never seen those texts because those texts would have been burned. They weren't alive before those texts were burned.
Well, right, but I could say that my father saw it, right? My father, who told me about this, saw the documents himself, and he was a trustworthy person. So you understand, 100 years is a reasonable amount of time.
Except just to be clear, the example here that we're talking about, the first person that you brought up, of Sextus, whatever his name was, Sextus Julius Africanus, lived.
And I don't think he was 100 years. I think he was like 30 years.
He was born in 160 CE. Right. So he was born 130 years after Jesus died. So it wouldn't have been his father.
His grandfather could have told him.
No, it wouldn't have been his grandfather.
His grandfather could have told him.
His grandfather wouldn't have been born by the time Jesus died. It would have been his great-great-grandfather.
His grandfather could have lived during Jesus. What are you talking about?
His grandfather could have lived 130 years.
Could have been alive during Jesus.
Jesse, when was your grandfather born? Do you know?
When was my grandfather born? I believe one of my grandfathers was born in like 1885, and another one was born in 1901.
And what year were you born, if you don't mind me asking?
1984.
Okay, so so to be clear, are you telling me that your grandfather, how old was your dad when he had you? The grandfather,
he was young. He was young. He was like my mom and dad had me when.
It's irrelevant, Jesse. The grandfather who was born in 1885.
It's not irrelevant. It's relevant. You just don't want me to answer it now. Go ahead.
Because I need more information first. The grandfather who was born in 1885, was he your maternal grandfather or your paternal grandfather?
I'm just guessing it was around that time.
Well, but I know that was it your mom's dad or your dad's dad?
My grandfather on my dad's side was born right after what event took place? I don't remember, but he fought in World War II, and then he also went to Korea, and then he had my dad,
Okay, so actually, let's take those 2 data points. He fought in World War II. He went to Korea. Korea was in the 50s. So
well, listen. This is besides the point, bro.
no,
This
Jesse,
is
Jesse, it
besides
is.
the point, okay?
It's relevant. I promise
This
it's
is
relevant.
it's
Jesse,
not relevant.
please
It's not
don't
relevant.
please don't let me please don't
not
force me off this
relevant.
topic. I promise you it's relevant. So if your dad fought in
Okay,
World,
but
or
it's
if
not
your
relevant.
grandfather fought in World War II and in Korea, well, soldiers stop being active duty when they're 45, right? They stop fighting.
No,
and
that's
so
not true. It's not true at all, but go ahead.
was your grandfather drafted into World War I or into World War II? I'm sorry.
Listen, none of this matters, okay? Well, what's the point?
My point is
that
my point is that your father's father was not born in 1885, because then he would have been 55 by the time he was drafted for World War I, and they didn't draft 55-year-olds, right? And World War II. I'm sorry. Yeah, he would have been 55 at the beginning of World War II, and he would have been 65 when the Korean War broke out. So there's no way he was born in 1885.
The price of rice in China, though, bud. What's that have to do with anything? What's that?
The point is that
anything?
Your grandfather was not born 100 years before you were. Your grandfather was probably born 60, maybe 70 years before you were. That's
What's that have to do with anything, though,
right.
bud?
So Sextus Julius Africanus would not have known a person. It is impossible for him to have known a person who was alive during
that time.
Yes.
You're right. That would have known somebody that was alive during. Well,
that's impossible.
Okay. I'll grant that, but only by one generation, right? You would agree that his great grandpa might have seen it.
Maybe that's possible. But then his great grandpa must have been born at least 130 years.
What happens when one of these guys lives to like 120? You know, what happens to that stuff?
Jesse, so his great grandpa must have lived more than 130 years before he was born. And so,
oh my gosh, bro,
that means that his great grandpa, that whoever he heard about this from,
what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah, I'm answering, Jesse.
What point are you trying to prove here?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to mute you so that I can my point is that Jesse heard it from, Sextus Julius Africanus, if he heard it from somebody who claimed to have heard it, claimed to have been there, well, rather, he could not have heard it from somebody who was there. At best, he may have heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody who was there. Maybe his grandfather's grandfather was there, and then his grandfather's grandfather tells his grandfather, and then his grandfather tells Sextus Julius Africanus. But there's nobody lives long enough to have told Sextus Julius Africanus this, and then also have been alive to see the eclipse. It just doesn't work. Nobody lives that long.
Okay, but I didn't make that claim. I said he could have.
Okay, so where is he getting this information from?
Now that we've discussed it, it's from other historians. When did historians come about?
Historians have existed for most of history.
Did I not say you're going to have to look some of this stuff up?
I looked.
I'm
I'm not finding where Sextus Julius Africanus got this information from.
That's because you're going to have to use your boy brain, and you're going to have to do some real research. You're going to have to put aside your girl brain that your mom gave you and use your boy brain that your dad gave you. And you're going to have to do that.
I know that you're getting destroyed in this argument. I know that I know that all of your worldviews are crumbling as you get rhetorically backshot by my glorious arguments. But you making personal attacks just makes you and your religion look less and worse than had you just, had a normal conversation like a normal adult. So I would suggest, for the sake of spreading your worldview, don't make yourself look like a fool, okay?
By muting you, should I not make myself look like a fool by muting people as they're making points?
No, I muted you so that I could get my point out.
Exactly, so you can make your point. That's exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
Is it not what I just said?
No, you didn't. You very much
You're really good at agreeing by
it.
disagreement. You're really good at agreeing by disagreement.
You're really good at not actually making an argument.
Well, yeah, could have, but maybe not.
You're really good at not making an argument.
I'm actually really good at it. So far you've admitted that Jesus Christ is real and walked the earth.
Admitted? I'm willing to agree to that. Sure.
It is. The resurrection is possible, right?
Nope.
Or are you
don't
saying
agree
it's
with that.
impossible?
I'm saying it's impossible.
You don't agree with it. So how is it impossible that somebody come back to life 3 days after they die? Please explain that to me.
Yeah. So it violates known laws of biology.
That we known laws of biology. Do you,
Mhm.
what's the key word in that statement?
Law.
No, no, known.
Sorry, it was my
Known laws. Would
statement.
you
I'm the
agree
one
that
who
there's
decides which
laws of
statements are
would you
key.
agree that would you agree that there's laws of biology that we don't understand yet?
Maybe.
Oh my gosh, wow, you're just a genius. I bet
Thank
all the
you. We grant that.
LGBTQ people in your group chat are just like www.
The cope is so
Maybe
funny here.
you're saying are you claiming that we know all the laws of biology already?
I'm claiming that it's at least metaphysically
Do
possible,
we
yeah.
do we know all the laws? Do we know all the laws of physics already?
Never made that claim.
I'm just asking.
Maybe.
Maybe. I guess I'll accept maybe. I mean, we might, but we also might
Mhm.
not, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So it's possible. So it's possible, right, that he could have come back to life 3 days later?
No, I don't think it's possible. The way that we evaluate possibility is whether or not, given the information that we have,
on what we
given,
know now. On what
well,
we know
yes,
now,
that
right?
that is how we evaluate whether things are possible or not. Yeah.
So the witness to something would be a valid thing to say. Like, I witnessed this thing, so it's valid, right? Did people
I don't know
witness
I don't know
this
why that's
resurrection?
relevant. No, generally I wouldn't think that
Well, I
that
mean,
makes it
to
valid or
prove something, you
historical.
have to
No.
witness it, right? Don't you have to witness something to prove it?
Do you mean like first person testimony? Or do you mean just like have some sort of data?
For the sake of this argument, we'll just say a witness. What do you think a witness is?
Well, colloquially, we refer to a witness as somebody who
I
saw
swear
something
to
in
this
person.
thing is real. I swear to this.
Jesse, you have a really hard time of letting somebody else finish a thought. I'm going to give you one more chance to not do that. We can have a normal conversation. We can let each other finish thoughts. But if you're incapable of that, I'm just going to boot you. There's 10 people who are waiting, and I'm sure plenty of them are more capable of having a genuine conversation than you are. So you get one more chance, okay?
So you're going to answer any of my questions, though?
Absolutely. You just have to actually let me finish the thought.
You don't think it's possible that somebody could come back to life 3 days later?
No, I don't think it's possible.
impossible?
No. Yes, I think that's impossible.
You think it's impossible?
Yes.
So what do you think makes a human then? What do you think makes a human? The brain?
Do you mean like the whole organism? Or do you mean like the person? Yeah. Well, so, I mean...
Like, what is a person?
What
makes the person?
A person is a living organism that has what we would call human DNA. You know, perhaps you need some sort of sentience as well.
What makes that person a person? If they're brain dead,
we could say it's sentience.
They're not alive according to you, right?
We could say it's sentience. We could say it's consciousness. We could say something like that. Yeah.
Okay, where do we get that from?
I suspect it's from the brain.
Uh-huh. You suspect it is, but it could not be?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I'm humble. I'm humble enough to recognize that I could be wrong.
Is there evidence of a soul? Is there evidence of a soul?
None that I've found compelling.
So you should look up these conjoined twins. They were females. They, you know, the bridge across the brain that connects the left lobe to the right lobe. Yeah, they shared that in common, but somehow they both had their own separate personalities and things along that line. And if I'm not mistaken, they successfully separated those two twins, and they live their own separate lives with their own separate, stuff, their own halves of the brain now.
So I'm not of the opinion that you need
I would take that as evidence of a soul.
I'm not of the opinion that you need the full brain in order to have a personality. People have something called a hemispherectomy. They're not as common anymore, but they do happen, where they basically remove half of your brain. And the person is still there.
And still you.
Well, right, but that just means that you don't need your whole brain in order to have that, that conscious experience, right?
Yeah. So then logically, we could probably think of a way someone could survive 3 days then, right?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think by some miracle that half of the brain stayed alive while the other half died by some way, shape, or form?
So if you invoke magic, then sure. But yeah, I mean, neurons require oxygen in order to live.
Why would I invoke?
Sounds like it would require magic.
Well, no, it sounds like I'm trying to show you that miracles exist, which they do exist. I'm pretty sure even if you Google, do miracles exist? I think Google even says yes.
Are you using miracle to refer to things that are violations of the laws of physics? Or say the laws of nature? We can be more broad.
No, I would say they are things which we cannot currently explain by science. That's why you have to be very careful when you claim something is a miracle, because you don't want science to come along and say this is the explanation. So if your door shuts in your bedroom, you don't say it was a miracle, or you don't say it was a ghost, because the window down the hall in your parents' room caused a slight draft and caused it to close. Miracles are things that which cannot be and have never been explained by science. And I think those events occur.
So when you
And
say
I think the
cannot be explained by
crucifixion darkness is
science,
one of them.
so just to be clear, when you say cannot be explained by science, you mean that there is no law of physics that can account for it, or no law of nature that can account for it, whether known or unknown?
I'm saying that you couldn't use currently known things to explain it. So, for instance, the crucifixion darkness. Okay, if the crucifixion darkness did occur, scientifically, it's impossible, right? It is impossible for the moon to travel in front of the sun. Well, I mean, unless some really bizarre stuff occurs, it's impossible for the moon to stay in front of
Sure.
the sun for 3 days, right?
Right. So look, but my question is
But
not
the
whether or not,
crucifixion darkness has been witnessed. It was witnessed by
to be clear, that's not my
thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
That's not my question.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
My question is about what you mean by miracle. So when you say miracle, you don't just mean it
I already
violates.
explained that. Why do
I
you
know.
need me to explain it again?
Because it wasn't clear, because it sounds like you're contradicting yourself. Let me
Oh,
elaborate.
okay.
So
Something that
on
can't
the
be
one
explained
hand,
by science. I said
okay,
that.
so when you say can't be explained by science, do you mean the science we have now or any science ever?
What I'm saying is that it can't be explained by science, and then at the most likely at the core would be like the God excuse. God did it.
So when you say can't be
How
explained
on
by
earth can you
science,
explain
do
to
you
me a
mean
3-day
now or
blackout
ever?
from the sun other than God?
Why can't you just answer
Huh?
the question directly? Do you mean it can't be explained by science now, or it could never be explained by science, even in principle?
Well, no. I'm not saying it. What I'm saying is, yeah, I'm basically saying that you would exhaust all means of science research, and you would say God did it.
So does that
Like,
mean
we
that there
really-
is no law of
we
physics
really
that could
cannot
account for it?
explain. If it's a miracle, no.
So then, so would it be a violation of laws of physics known and unknown?
I would say that if you right now could instantly started going beyond the speed of light, I would call that a miracle, wouldn't you?
I would call it magic, I guess. But look, that my question
Come on,
is,
man. Good faith, bro. Good faith. How can you not be good faith? We're not talking about magic
I'm
here.
just telling you what I would call it.
Okay, well, what's magic then? Does magic
Breaking the
violate
laws of physics. Yeah.
Okay, so well, real people in the real world call that a miracle. Magic
Okay.
did exist once in this
Okay, that's
world,
cool.
but it doesn't exist anymore.
So Jesse, if you're saying that that by definition, miracles must violate all known and unknown laws of physics, then yeah, I don't think miracles are.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
Okay,
that.
so do you think that there
What
are?
did I say? Can you tell me how I explained it?
You said that it
What's a miracle? What
exhausts
did I
all
say?
of scientific investigation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
but
would
doesn't that mean it could still fall within the laws of physics?
No, I would say
It could still
no.
fall within the laws of physics.
No, I would say no.
Well,
If you
then you
can't,
don't understand what a miracle is.
so I would imagine. So Jesse, actually, maybe this will help clarify. Suppose for a moment that I knew all of the all of the laws of physics. Like I actually knew which ones were the final laws of physics. Would I be able to account for every miracle claim in your worldview?
Well, I would say the God quote or the God equation would fall into that. So yeah, if you present God as a law of physics, right?
What's the God equation?
Then yes.
What's the God equation?
Well, I don't know how to explain that. I don't like the dark matter, the unexplainable.
Well, look, so laws of physics are like
we pass this thing through the scientific method, and it fails, but it still does. It still does the thing.
So laws of physics, if we're just talking about physics, laws of physics are like relationships between measured quantities or between measurable quantities, perhaps, that are given some mathematical form. That's like one way that you could define what a law of physics is.
Have laws of physics always existed?
No, I would say no. At least in the way that I understand them. People did.
Who created them?
The people
People
did.
created the laws of physics.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm a nominalist. We can get into the metaphysics conversation, but you don't want to go there.
Mm.
Anyway,
so God is so people are your God.
Okay, if you want to think that, that's fine. My point is that
Okay.
if you're
It's a
saying that
terrible way to worship,
miracles,
but go ahead.
my point is that if you think that miracles can be accounted for via some naturalistic law of physics, and I'm adding in naturalistic there because you're just saying, well, maybe there's a law of physics for God, in which case I would call God a natural thing. Anyway, if you think that miracles can be accounted for via some formula that like gives an explanation in terms of forces and, you know, charges or whatever, then I would say it's not a miracle, it's just a natural thing. On the other hand, if you say that you can't account for a miracle in terms of, you know, the sum total of all natural phenomena that are describable, you know, via laws of physics, via quantity, measurement, etc., then I would say that we have reason to think that those things are impossible.
Right, like a 3-day blackout from the sun is impossible, right?
Right.
Yet there's thousands of eyewitnesses, multiple historians that all wrote about it.
Who are the eyewitnesses?
Bro, you're going to have to just look it up. I don't have all of this in front of me right now,
Okay,
but you
so
acknowledge
I don't
that the
think that there are
crucifixion
any
darkness is
eyewitnesses.
real, right?
No, I don't think it's real.
You could just read the Wikipedia page.
I don't think that the
Rome
crucifixion darkness
documented
happened.
it, bro. It was documented
Rome
in
documented? No, it
Rome that
didn't.
it was a...
Who documented
Huh?
it? Where in Rome was it documented? I'm looking at the Wikipedia page now. It doesn't say anything about Rome documenting it.
Who was the original documenter of this?
Well, if you consider the Gospels, if you consider the Gospels as a source, then it would be the Gospel accounts.
Nope.
Okay, then
Who
what's the
was
right
the
answer? Because
first
I'm looking at the
person to
Wikipedia
write
thing. It doesn't
about
say
the
anything.
Crucifixion darkness.
The Gospel accounts.
Okay, well, if you then you'll have your answer.
I'm
when
looking
you
at it
have
right
that
now.
Answer. When you sit here and you ask me who wrote about it, who wrote about it, who wrote
Yeah.
about it, I'm telling you, you're gonna have to look it up. Just
Yeah.
look it
Okay.
up.
Wait. So you don't know the
do it
answer?
right now.
Wait. So you don't know the answer?
I don't know the name offhand. No. And
Of-
do I know
of-
the name of the thousands of witnesses that the historian went around and asked?
Which-
No, I don't know
wait.
that either.
So I'm looking at like Tertullian's, like the blurb where Tertullian talks about this, and he doesn't say anything about thousands of witnesses, right?
All
Like
of
I'm looking at the
Rome
things by
witnessed
Sextus
it.
Julius. Where's the evidence for that?
All of Rome.
Where is the evidence for this?
Witnessed it.
Where's the evidence for this?
Bro,
I'm not seeing any of
found
it.
out about this thing 30 seconds
mean,
ago, and you're saying, no, it didn't happen because I can't find this
To be
information.
clear, I was very aware of the crucifixion darkness. I've looked into the
I don't think you
eclipse.
were.
I've looked into the
you
eclipse
were.
timetables
I
before.
don't think you were, because you didn't
Okay.
even know who Sexton was, because you didn't even know
You didn't
that
know
name.
who he
I'm
was
calling you
either.
a liar on that.
You didn't know who he was either.
I
You thought he
knew
was
his
Marcus
last name.
Aurelius
I
Sextus.
knew his, I did
That
know
was his first
Sexton
name, dumbass.
Okay, I got that, but I got at least one of the names right, didn't I?
You said Sextus.
And you got zero
Congrats.
of the names right, didn't you? But you claim to know about this.
Yeah,
I'll acknowledge that
I've
you
read about it.
probably
Yeah,
have heard of the
I've read about it.
crucifixion
I've
darkness
looked
before,
into the
but I'm
eclipse
going to
claims.
guarantee you've done zero research.
I've looked into the eclipse claims. Yeah, and I've verified for myself that there were no eclipses during this time.
But there were witnesses that said there were.
There are none. Unless can you present one? Because as far as I'm looking right now, I can't see anybody saying that there are witnesses. Who witnessed it? Give me a name. Provide a record.
Historians that wrote about it.
Which ones? Because none of them were alive at the time.
Bro, you have clearly never done any research into this.
You have clearly never thought with more than a single brain cell in your life.
No,
You're just trying.
Clearly have done.
Let's describe what's happening right now. What's happening right? I can just by the way, my mic's way louder than yours. So just to be clear, what you're doing right now is you're saying there's evidence. There's evidence. What's the evidence? I don't know. Google it. That's what you're doing.
No. I don't have. You're right. I don't have it offhand. You're correct.
It doesn't exist.
This has been an organic Hold on. This has been an organic conversation. So to think that every example that I will pull out organically right here on the spot, that I have the evidence to that just makes you sound dumb.
You pulled out one name, and it wasn't even his name.
It was 1/3 his name, wasn't it?
No, you said Sexton, not Sextus. And it was in the wrong place. You pulled out one. You pulled out maybe one half of 1/3 of a name. That's what you achieved.
Is this how you typically debate people? Is this
when they are bad faith? Yeah, absolutely.
How am I bad faith? Please explain.
Well, you've made the claim that there's evidence over and over again, and yet you have failed to produce it. You've also done ad hominem attacks
reading
on
about
the
it,
regular.
dummy. How are you going to sit there and tell
There
me
you
there's
go
no
again.
evidence when you just got done reading about it? Did you not just get done reading about it?
So
and historians that wrote about it?
So you yourself, I'm muting you again. You yourself referenced the Wikipedia page. I have now read the Wikipedia page. And the historians that you're mentioning, who you claim were there, weren't there. They weren't alive yet. So the eyewitnesses, the people who you claim actually were there to see this, you can't name a single one. And in fact, not a single one is mentioned in this Wikipedia article. If you have better sources, by all means, please present them. But you don't have better resources because you don't know what you're talking about, because you've never spent more than 2 or 3 brain cells actually forming a coherent thought in your life.
Dude, you just made a lot of false claims about me.
I'm sure that that's new to you, isn't it?
You just made so many false claims while you had me muted. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm the host.
Unbelievable. I never claimed that Sexton was alive at that time. I said it was possible that maybe his grandfather might have witnessed it.
He wasn't an eyewitness, was he?
You are so bad faith. It's
Was he an eyewitness?
Did you like cry your way into a PhD? Did you go to your teachers and be like,
I'm sorry, was this guy an eyewitness? Was Sextus an eyewitness? Okay, so who was the eyewitness?
Did I say he was?
Right, so who was the eyewitness then?
He was an eyewitness. Did I make the claim that he was an eyewitness?
You said he was you said he was a historian who recorded it.
About it, right?
Who recorded it?
Yeah, a historian.
The implication being that he saw it, but sure, if you want to backpedal and say he wasn't, he was just recording what he had heard, fine. Then who saw it? Who was the person who saw it?
But to be clear, though, I never made that claim that you claimed, right? I just want to make that sure that people know that you make a lot of claims. You keep saying that I say these things that I haven't said yet.
I just said that you didn't actually say he eyewitnessed it. You said he recorded it, which possible, but typically we take people who
is he a historian?
We typically take
is he a historian?
We typically take people who record events to be people who were at the events. But if your claim is that he wasn't actually, if your claim was that he wasn't actually there and he was just well, I was in the middle of a sentence. Sorry for interrupting this beginning of your sentence to the middle of mine. If your claim is merely that he just recorded what people heard or what people told him, sure, I'd believe that. Maybe people told him that. That doesn't make it true. You need to give me the name of somebody who was there.
Was Africanus a historian?
Okay, so you're not actually going to answer the question.
Okay, if you want names of eyewitnesses that were there,
yep, I do.
Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but I'm trying not to use the gospel.
Where's the evidence that they were there?
Use other people that existed. Where's the evidence that they were there?
Yeah.
Eyewitness testimony.
Sorry, where's
where say they were there?
Which eyewitnesses say they were there?
You understand that the Bible was verified, right? Like there was a council.
Okay, so you can't answer again.
Process and verified. Well, no, you're denying that this stuff has already been verified. That's the problem. Is that are you saying that Matthew?
So just to be clear, you have no evidence that they were there.
Didn't exist, and now you acknowledge that he did exist.
I never said Christ didn't exist. I never said that Jesus didn't exist.
I'm giving you.
Okay, so if you're going to misrepresent me, I'm going to mute you and correct the record. I never said Jesus didn't exist. In fact, I'm openly, totally in favor of saying, yeah, there was probably a guy named Jesus who existed around that time. Absolutely. He may have even had followers, and he likely was even crucified. So don't misrepresent me. You got all upset about me misrepresenting you.
If only I could mute you every time you misrepresent me. So was Africanus a historian?
Yeah, we've been over this. He was a historian. He was a Christian historian, but he was a historian.
How did you get the label of doctor?
I went to university and I completed the accreditation process.
How do you get the label? How do you get the label historian?
2,000 years ago, probably just by writing stuff that you claim is historical. They didn't have like universities and stuff back then.
History that we read about in the past, all that's fake. It's all fake.
Never said that, but cool. Never said that, but that's a cool straw man.
It's all made up. You did though. You did.
No. Okay. What did I say? Sorry. Please quote me.
You just made that claim.
Please quote me. Please quote me.
In your tone,
please quote me.
The way you said that.
Please quote me. Please quote me. Oh, so now we're just inferring it.
Good records. Are you saying Rome kept good records?
Some records of Rome were quite good. Some records of Rome were not.
Oh, just the ones that you want to pick and choose were good.
Nope, never said that.
I want to pick and choose were.
Never said that either. Cool straw man, though.
The records that Rome kept were good. I think all the records were. Well, I mean, it only follows, right?
No, it doesn't follow.
It only
It's a straw
follows
man.
that if you're going to say that some are good and some are bad, that the ones that you
Yeah.
choose are going to be the good ones.
No, I'm not a historian. I trust contemporary historians, people alive today, to make an accurate assessment of, which kind of historical documents we should trust, which kind of historical documents we shouldn't trust.
Oh, and what historical documents did Africanus use to verify that
I don't think that he says, actually.
the crucifixion darkness?
I don't actually think that he says. But I can go pull up like an explicit text and we can just check.
Why can you not just admit that you've never done any research?
Well, I did just say I don't think that he says, but we can just go look at the text and see where did he get his information from.
Just admit, it would be a miracle to get you to admit that you actually don't really know anything about the crucifixion darkness.
So I'm reading the extant works of Julius Africanus right now. I'm going to mute him while we read this. So this is the Epistle to Aristides, which is, an extant work by Julius Africanus, and it is the work in which he talks about the eclipse, the crucifixion darkness. He says that he quotes Thales in the book of his history, calls, as appears to me without reason, an eclipse of the sun. Now let's go look, when did Thales live? Well, Thales seems that it's actually not clear when he lived. Most scholars date his writings to around 50 AD. It's not known when he lived and wrote, and it's only quoted. So who was reading his work? Clearly, his work couldn't have been destroyed by the Great Fire of Rome, because otherwise Sextus Julius Africanus wouldn't have been able to read it, right? So why don't we have any of the original work? Well, what we do have is we have some work. We have some of his work. I guess there are some fragments. One of them is he made a summary in abbreviated fashion to the sack of Troy to the 167th Olympiad. So this is referencing something from 109 BC. Apparently we have Syrian events. We have, these are not actually fragments that we have at all of his work. These are rather people quoting or people referring to his work. So it doesn't actually look like we have any of Thales's writings, which, fine. We don't have any copies of it. And so what we have from Sextus Julius Africanus is that this darkness, Thales, in the third book of his history, calls, as appears to me without reason, an eclipse of the sun. For the Hebrews celebrate the Passover on the 14th day according to the moon, and the passion of our Savior fails on the day before the Passover. But an eclipse of the sun takes place only when the moon comes under the sun, and it cannot happen at any other time but in the interval between the first day of the new moon and the last day of the old. That is, at their junction. How then should an eclipse be supposed to happen when the moon is almost diametrically opposite the sun? Let the opinion pass, however. Let it carry the majority with it, and let this portent of the world be deemed an eclipse of the sun, like others a portent only to the eye. Phlegnon records that in the time of Tiberius Caesar, at full moon, there was a full eclipse of the sun from the 6th hour to the 9th. Now that's referring to another author, Phlegnon, but Phlegnon lived in the 2nd century, so he couldn't have been the original source for this claim either. There was a full eclipse of the sun from the 6th hour to the 9th hour, manifestly that one of which we speak. But what has an eclipse in common with an earthquake, the rending rocks and the resurrection of the dead, and so great a perturbation through the universe? Surely no such event as this is recorded for a long period. But it was a darkness induced by God, because the Lord happened then to suffer. And calculation makes out that the period of 7 weeks, as noted in Daniel, is completed at this time. So, Jesse, the work of Sextus Julius Africanus cites Thales, which we don't have any records of, cites Thales as saying that...
I told you it was burned. Remember
oh my
at the
God.
beginning of your rant, you sat there and said, "Oh, look."
So he cites Thales as saying that there existed an eclipse. Now, he then says that that doesn't make sense. So the question then is, why did he say that there was an eclipse? And that's a good question. So was Thales there at the time?
Can you not mute me so I can make a point real quick?
Only if you are capable of not interrupting. Only if you're capable of not interrupting.
You keep interrupting me. At the beginning of your rant, you sat there and said, "Oh, it looks like we do have some Thales's documents, and then you kept reading and reading and reading, and then you said, "Oh, it looks like we don't have any of his documents."
Right.
Why don't
I was
you
wrong
just
at
say
first.
you don't know anything about this event and go and do some research on it, because you really sound dumb. The more
So,
and
Jesse,
more you read about it, you keep contradicting yourself 30 seconds after you're done reading.
So, Jesse, do you know who Thales was? Have you heard of Thales before?
So everything I just said went right over your head. Okay.
Have you heard of Thales before?
I have heard of Thales before.
Okay,
Yes,
why didn't you mention his name?
I said I don't know these guys' name offhand. I said that. Did I
So
not
you
say
didn't
that?
know him? Because I've heard I had heard of Thales before I read this thing.
My brain does not remember names well.
Clearly.
I have an inability to remember names.
Clearly.
Correct.
Yeah. So
I know.
I had heard of Thales before as well.
Right now, I have an inability to, especially old like Latin names.
So
like Julius Africanus Sexton, like that is a really hard name to remember. But could you just do this one miracle for all of us and admit that you really don't know much about the crucifixion darkness? And that
I don't know about. I'm not familiar.
Right
so Jesse, I had not read about the ancient Roman accounts of the crucifixion darkness. In fact, I've looked into the Chinese accounts that people make about the crucifixion darkness. But the Chinese accounts don't actually do what you want them to do. Anyway, the reason why I said that it looks like we do have fragments from Thales is that, well, actually we don't. We have people quoting Thales, but we don't actually have any original texts of Thales. So
right, like Sextus Julius Africanus quotes him.
No, he doesn't quote him about this. He doesn't quote him about this. Yes, he just says no. Well, so he refers to him. He doesn't quote him.
Give it like
he refers to them.
Seconds, you're going to say, okay, well, maybe he does.
So to be clear, he refers to Thales. He doesn't quote him. Right? Do we agree on that?
God. He quotes his. If I reference somebody, am I quoting them?
No, quoting them is when you take their words word for word.
Their work?
No, you're citing it.
Oh my gosh.
You're not quoting it. No.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, bro. Oh my gosh.
Now you want to take those little two little neurons, rub them together.
He cites him then. He
cites Thales.
He cites
right.
Oh man, yeah. He cites his writing in quotes, right? When you
no, it's not in quotes.
Quote it.
Nope, nothing's quoted.
Don't you put?
Nothing is quoted. No.
So if I were to cite a book in my book, I wouldn't put it in quotes, and I wouldn't put a footer right there to say this came from that.
Well, no, he didn't do that. That's the point.
You said you've written papers before, right?
Yep. Yeah, I have. I do citations all the time. He didn't do that. He didn't put quotes anywhere.
When you cite someone, do you quote it?
No, you don't have to. No.
No. How do you cite something then?
You can, for example, paraphrase. You can paraphrase, or you can just say this thing.
You still put it in quotes though, right? When you paraphrase.
No.
Oh, I thought I've see in English class I learned that you put when you quote someone you put it, or when you source someone you got to put it in quotes.
No, then you learned wrong. Anyway, so what happens in the text that Sextus Julius Africanus does? So he says. He says the darkness.
Since we're going to argue semantics. Hold on, for the record, he did cite him though, right?
Yeah, he cites him. He says this darkness, Thales, in the third book of his history, calls, as appears to me without reason, an eclipse of the sun.
Thales was a historian too, right?
Yeah, he was an ancient historian. We don't know a lot about him. We don't have any of his work.
Historian? Do you think
by writing down?
Do you think they just handed out the title historian like they do doctor today?
So he wrote down things that we consider as historical documents. That's how you get the title.
Yeah, so he's probably a valid source, right?
Perhaps. We don't have any of his work. How can we check?
Oh, wow, bro. You just don't concede anything, do you?
Why would I concede something that's false?
Why would you concede that a historian is a valid spot to get information from? Yeah, I don't know.
Historians can get things wrong, right?
They can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you prove that he was wrong here?
That's not even my claim. My claim is we don't even know what he wrote. We just have Sextus Julius Africanus.
We do know
no, we don't. We don't have any of his work. We don't have any of his words.
Through Africanus, we know what he wrote.
No, we don't. We don't have any of his words.
Yeah, we do.
What we know,
because he
what we
cited
know
him,
is that
didn't he?
Sextus
He
Julius. No,
cited him, didn't he?
we don't have his words. That's
No, he
the
didn't.
distinction. Do you not know? Do you not understand this? He cited him. He didn't quote him.
Oh
We don't
my
have his
gosh.
words.
So now you're saying we don't have his words, even though so
No, we
if
don't
I
have his
cite a
words. That's the
book that
point.
says the earth. Hold on. So if I cite a
Uh-huh,
book that says the earth is square, but in my paper I say this book says the earth is round, did I cite them?
If you cite
Or
a
did I
paper
just
that
make
says the earth
something
is
else up?
square, so do you
No,
know what
no,
I mean
no,
when I
no.
say
If
that?
this paper, if this
Do you
paper
understand
says,
what I mean when I
no,
say
no,
that we
if
don't
this
have his
paper,
words? Do you understand what I mean by that, Jesse?
what is a citation in a book? Please
A
explain it
citation
to
is
the
a
audience.
reference to some piece of knowledge that you are invoking.
Verbatim, right? Verbatim.
No, it doesn't have to be verbatim.
Well, I mean, you can't just make it up. You can't mix words up, though. So if they said the Earth is round, you can't say the Earth is square and be like, yeah, I'm citing this person, right?
Yeah, no. Generally, you have to correctly represent their view, but you still don't have their words.
Okay. So if he's citing him, as you have now admitted that he's doing, not quoting him, as you would say,
Yeah.
but his sightings would obviously be very accurate, wouldn't they?
Maybe. We don't know how accurate Sextus Julius Africanus's claims were.
If Thales said there's 3 days of darkness, and Africanus
Well, to be clear,
said there was 2 days of darkness, did he
Thales
just cite
didn't
him
say that.
appropriately?
We don't have evidence that Thales said
No,
that.
I'm doing a hypothetical here.
Okay.
I'm doing a hypothetical.
So, yeah, then yes. If that were the case, then yeah, then I mean, Sextus Julius Africanus would have been citing him falsely.
And then if found out, Africanus would lose the title historian, right?
I don't think that's how that works. No.
Do you think men had honor back then and told the truth, or do you think they constantly lied?
I think that men were just as honorable then as they are today.
Oh, really? You think men are honorable today?
I didn't say that.
You said they're just as honorable then as they are today.
Mm-hmm.
So you think they're just as honorable today?
Yep.
Do you believe in the phrase women and children first?
For like a sinking ship?
Sure.
No, I don't. I don't think
then
I don't
more honorable today. Then men aren't more honorable today.
Oh, okay. I mean, like, my view is that women are, equally capable and equally valuable as men are. So no, I don't think that, men should sacrifice themselves to protect the dainty old women because they can't protect themselves. They need men to protect them. I think that that's stupid.
Right, but so then you believe in survival of the fittest. So the men on the Titanic should have punched the women in the face and threw them overboard and taken those life.
No, but that's a really cool straw man.
There wasn't enough life rafts.
It's a really cool straw man.
Life rafts on the Titanic. It's not a straw man.
It is a straw man. So you believe goes on to say what I don't believe. I mean, it was a straw man. It's like the definition of a straw man. Anyway, we probably have some super chats to go over. So let's read some super chats before we move on to the next guest. So from Garba Gaiman with the 5 Canuck bucks, Dr. Blitz, we need you so bad on Sunday. I heard. Sorry about that. I was, with family. And then from John Jackson with the $5. Thank you, as always. Again from Garba Gaiman with the 5 Canuck bucks. Dumb design. Animals choke because their food tube is the air tube. Koalas can only eat a food that is toxic to them. Birds fly into windows. Knees. Yeah, that's fair. And again from Garba Gaiman with the $2. Jesus told people not to wash their hands. Oh, if that's true, that's a good point. Nekdu with the $2 says, caller, your bad faith is showing. Right? And from Too Much Vimto with the £2. Hey, Blitz, a couple pounds to your research. Well, thank you. I appreciate the support. £5 from Miko. Hey, hi, Blitz. Sorry, nothing of any worth to say or add. Just here to support the good work. Appreciate you. From 42 Ulan with the 2 Canuck bucks. Sextus says he got it from Thales. That does seem to be true, or at least Thales accounts for a darkness, but it doesn't say anything about it, or we don't know if Thales has said anything about it being 3 days. I actually don't even know if Thales says anything about when it happened, but I would need to go read the entirety of Sextus Julius Africanus, which I haven't done before. And then from Tim Bimbado with the $5, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John were not eyewitnesses, LMAO, and they didn't even write Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Yeah, so that's a fair point. Right, okay. Well, thank you guys for the super chats. Let's keep going. Let's bring up another guest. Let's bring up Truth Seeker of Jesus Word. Oh, also, we got a $2 cash app from Robert. Thank you so much, Robert, as always. Truth Seeker. All right, Truth Seeker's not coming up. Yeah, bummer. All right, let's talk to Sheikh Harris Ghafoor. Sheikh, how's it going?
All good, bro. How's it going with you?
I'm doing all right. I'm gonna guess from your name that you believe in God. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is a
And I'm
fair
gonna
assessment.
guess
As you-
that you are Muslim. Is that true?
Yeah, that is
All right.
100%.
Okay. I'm glad that my intuitions are right. Okay, so what would be the most compelling reason you could give me to believe in the God of Muhammad?
Okay, well, first I would like to speak to you about believing in God generally, because
Sorry about go
I
on.
don't think we can speak of religion before we speak about God first.
Sure.
So, okay, so let's say the God of Muhammad, as you called it,
Mhm.
is the God who created everything that exists, is the God
Mhm.
who sustains everything that exists and controls everything that exists. So this is the God that I will be defending the existence of. So firstly, do you believe that the universe has a beginning? Yes or no?
No, or at least I'm agnostic about it.
Okay, so don't you think that the fact that the universe is expanding show that it started from somewhere? Because it has to start from somewhere if it's expanding.
No, I don't think
Is
that
right?
it expanding now and in the past means that it had a beginning. Surely the expansion may have had a beginning, but again, that's not implied.
Okay, sure. So, what do you think actual infinity exists? Quantitative infinity. Do you think it exists?
I don't think
Like, is
measurable
there such a
infinity
thing as-
exists, but like I don't see an issue with like physical things having various infinite traits as long as they're not measurable.
Okay, so let's say if the universe didn't have a beginning,
Mm-hmm.
it would still be infinitely in the past, and the present would never happen.
Why?
So that would be logically absurd.
I don't see how that follows. Can you elaborate?
Okay, sure. So let's say you have an infinite number of dominoes, right?
Sure.
And we are in a specific one, and that would be the present.
Yep.
And now for the first domino to fall down,
Wait, which one's
it would
the
never
first?
reach the present.
Sorry, which one's the first?
Well, there's no first. It's infinite, and it would
Right.
be
So
infinitely
then
falling.
why do we need a first to have fallen?
We need a first to have fallen because if there is no first domino, then there is no present because they would still be falling. And
So why couldn't one domino be falling? And that just means that there was a domino before that was falling. And that just means that before that there was another domino that was falling. And before that there was another domino that was falling. Ad infinitum. Where's the issue?
yeah, then you would get to logical absurdities.
What's the logical absurdity? Can you lay out the contradiction for me, please?
Okay, sure. So let's say that there are infinite dominoes falling in the past. Okay.
To be clear, infinity is not a number. You could say
Sure.
that there is no finite number of past dominoes.
There's no finite domino. Okay, sure. So I think we're agreeing. I'm trying to I'm not very good at math, but okay. So the example that I saw the other day was about a hotel that has infinite number of rooms with an infinite number of guests.
Yep.
And if you add one more guest to that room, to that hotel, they would still find room for it. So if you would
everybody could just
actually
move one
believe-
room over.
Yeah, exactly. So if you would actually believe that the universe doesn't have a beginning, you'd be implying it's infinite. And to imply it's infinite, that would basically just go against everything that we have seen in the development of our universe. So I don't think it's wise to believe. I think it's
Where's
more
the
logical
paradox?
to believe.
What's the contradiction? I mean, like
The contradiction is if
the
it never had a
hotel. I
beginning-
don't see an issue with the hotel.
Sure. So if the universe did not have a beginning, let's assume it never had a beginning. Okay.
Sure.
So that means it's infinite, right?
It means that for every moment there is a prior moment. Sure.
Yes. So how would light of the past of the Big Bang reach us? How would we know of all that?
I don't think that the
if
Big Bang
it's
was.
still normal?
I think that the Big Bang happened 13.8 billion years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So it happened in a specific time,
But
right? So
yeah.
can we say
But I
that's
think
the
that there was
beginning
stuff
of the universe?
before that. That's all.
Sure, but that's not our universe. That's
Sure it
something
is.
else.
Why isn't that our universe? If it's still like the same piece of space-time, why wouldn't it be our universe?
Would you say what happened before the Big Bang is considered our space-time in this universe, our laws of physics?
It very well could be, yeah.
It could be, but
Like,
it
I
cannot be.
mean, so I'm agnostic about this. I don't see why this would be an issue, though.
Okay, well, the whole point is the argument of causality, that the universe was caused by something, and even if what caused the universe was also
Why
caused,
should I
we
believe
would
that, though?
always go back to that the universe was caused.
Yeah.
Well, because things don't just come out from nothing, right?
Well, surely you don't think everything has a cause.
Everything in the universe has a cause, except for the
Perhaps
first
everything. I might even agree that everything in the universe has a cause, but the
Yeah,
universe is not
exactly.
in the
Right.
universe.
Okay, maybe, perhaps, and that's the argument for God, because he is the causer, so therefore he cannot be caused. You need something to cause everything else, and that would be the first. So even if something
So why
caused
why
the
couldn't the universe just have never had a cause? It just always existed eternally, and there are just things that happen in the universe that have causes.
Well, if you were to believe that, you could, although I don't I think with based on the scientific evidence that we have today that you yourself present on
Mhm.
many of your TikToks, which I really like,
Thank you.
they show that the universe is expanding, it is
Yep.
developing,
Mhm.
light is traveling.
Mhm.
Everything points to a single point that the universe began.
Well, no,
All
it
the
points
evidence
to
goes to the
a
began,
compact space that the universe occupied. Surely,
which we could
the
call that the
observable
beginning.
universe. Well, why would that be a
Call that a
beginning?
beginning.
Why couldn't there be more stuff before that? I
No,
just
I'm
don't
not
see how
saying
you go
there's not.
from I don't see how you go from the universe was very
Mhm.
small and very hot 13.8 billion years ago to therefore that was the beginning of the universe. Why couldn't it have just been a different thing that happened in the universe?
Well, would you be able to imagine what would happen before the universe was in a hot, dense state?
Sure,
Very,
it
very
could have been
small.
in a less hot, less dense state,
Sure. And before that?
even less hot and even less dense.
Yeah, sure. But you would always go back to a specific point.
No, it would go back
always
forever. Like, I
It
don't see
would
an issue
not
with
go back
this.
forever. Because
Why
if it
not?
goes back forever, how does it go to the past? Like, if there are infinite numbers between 0 and 1,
Mm-hmm.
if there are infinite numbers between 0 and 1, how would you ever get to 2? You wouldn't. Because
Wait
you're
a
still
minute.
counting
Hold on.
0,
Hold on.
0, 0, 0, 0,
Hold
0,
on.
1.
Hold on. But Shake, there are an infinite
Yeah.
number of numbers between 0 and 1, and yet you can still get to 2.
By ignoring them, sure. But if you were to count all of
No,
the
but
infinite
like
numbers,
you can pass over them. If let's say that you're standing on the number. Actually,
they're
this
not
is just a
real.
really good example.
Because numbers is something in
So
our minds, right?
so
It's a
Shake,
concept.
do you think that you
Yeah.
can subdivide space indefinitely?
What do you mean? Divide space?
Like, let's say that you take like a meter, right, and then you cut it in half.
Yeah. Okay.
You cut it in half again.
Yeah.
Cut it in half again. Do you think that
Yes.
you can do
Oh,
that
yeah.
forever?
No, I don't think so.
What's
Because you get to the atomic level or the, I don't know, whatever small level it is, you get to a point that you just can't do it anymore. That's what I believe. Yeah. Do you?
on what? But why do you believe that?
Because it's something that exists. Space is something that exists. So there's only a finite number of times you can cut something until it ceases to exist, right? Until you like.
So
it
then
just
how do you
becomes-
go from one place to another place if you can't pass in between them?
You can because these things exist. But I mentioned that numbers don't
Wait,
exist.
so let's say that we've divided up space into the smallest possible
Okay.
subdivision that you believe exists, right? And so
Okay, sure.
there's a place here, and then there's a place over there, and
Yeah.
I'm standing at place A, and place B is
Yeah.
one subdivision away from me. How do
Okay.
I go from place A to place B without crossing between them?
Well, unless you have a portal, you're just gonna have to walk there.
Yeah,
or
but
just
walking
move.
there means so like when I walk somewhere, right? That means that my leg
Yes.
is moving between those two places.
Yeah. Okay. I get.
But
I
if
get
those
what
but
you're
if those
trying to say.
places
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
exist, what is it?
Yeah.
How do I go from place A to place B?
Okay, I get what you're trying to say. There's no way, but
But yet we
remember, I
do.
said that numbers. Yeah, I said that numbers are a
Mhm.
concept in our minds, meaning they don't really exist.
Right, but I'm not talking about
They
numbers.
don't
I'm talking
really.
about locations.
Yeah, but I think you spoke about that after my 0 to 2 analogy.
Yeah,
right?
because I'm trying to elaborate on how you can still cross an infinite number of things. No, there's no issue with that, so long as you have a finite speed and the
space is
infinite number of
finite.
things are infinitesimal. There's no issue.
Well, Okay, sure. So look, if you look at numbers, okay, because they don't really exist,
Mm-hmm.
they're a concept in our minds. So I
Yeah.
can make as many decimals as I want between 0
Mm-hmm.
to 1 that will make it impossible for you to ever reach 1, because this is how it works. But if we're talking about space, then space is finite. As big as it is,
How do
as
you know
small as
space is
it is
finite?
finite. It
How do you
is
know
finite
space is?
because it is
How do you
contained
know?
in the universe. It's
Well,
contained
how
in
do you
the
know the
universe.
universe is finite?
Well, because of the Big Bang.
How does that imply
Speaking
that the universe is
scientifically,
finite?
not religiously, it implies that if the universe was condensed in a very, very small hot ball, that means if that ball was like 5 centimeters large, then that was the whole universe. The whole universe
Well,
was
no, that was
five
the
centimeters.
observable universe. We don't know how big the
You,
whole universe was at the time.
okay, sure, but I'm just giving an example. Like, let's say the whole universe was 10 centimeters at that
Sure.
time.
Then I
It
would
is
agree
finite.
that it couldn't be
Finite.
infinitely large now. I agree with that. But we
Yeah,
don't know that the
it would
universe
be
was
finite.
10 centimeters across back then. We don't even know if it was finite back then.
Well, it has to be finite because
Why?
I forgot the theory, but there's a theory of light that said that if the universe did not have a beginning and was infinite, that our sky at night would be as bright as
You're
day
talking about Olber's
because the light.
paradox. Olber's paradox is
Yes, yes,
resolved by noting that stars have only had about 13.8 billion years to form. Like, stars
yeah.
didn't exist 13.8 billion years ago. It's also solved by the fact that the universe is expanding, and so we don't see all of the stars. They will never. Some of the stars we will never see because the universe is expanding too quickly.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's really a it's resolved. It doesn't fix the problem that the universe can't be infinite, can't be infinitely old.
Okay,
It doesn't
okay,
resolve
sure.
that.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think that it is plausible with the evidence that I showed you? Is it plausible for me to tell you that according to this evidence, I believe the universe had a beginning and it was created?
Um,
Does that sound
I
absurd?
mean, look, you can believe it. I don't think it's justified.
No, you don't think it's justified.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
the correct
You think it
position
is
on whether or not the universe had a beginning is agnosticism. Just being like, yeah,
agnosticism?
we don't have enough data to come to a conclusion yet.
Okay, but with the data that we have now, we
Yeah,
can
I think
say,
it's
yeah,
insufficient.
you think it's insufficient.
Yes.
Okay, so, okay, sure. There's actually something interesting that if you don't want to believe in God, you won't, right? So you kind of just have to be a little bit open to it, right? I hope and you sound like a very open-minded guy. Okay, so yeah, I think I don't know if you've read about the cosmological argument
I have.
by William H. Wade,
Hmm.
okay, and you were not convinced by that.
Yeah, I don't think either of the two
If,
premises are well
if
founded.
you were Okay, if you were to find a ball right beside you,
Hmm.
you would think it just came out of nowhere, or would you
Well, it
believe
depends
that?
on what the ball's like. I mean, if it's like a
That's
rubber
all.
ball that has like somebody's logo stamped on it, then I'd be like, yeah, it was probably made by the people who stamped the logo on it.
Okay,
But if it
well,
was just
just a
like a
black ball.
blob floating in space, I might think that it formed naturally.
It forms yeah, it will form naturally, but it didn't come out of nowhere. Things
Well, yeah, I think
came
that
together to
generally
form
things are
a
made
ball.
of other things.
Yeah, sure, but those things have to have had a beginning. Otherwise,
Why?
how would they exist in the first place?
I mean, like, look,
Well, because
I don't.
yeah,
It's not evident to me at all that like the electron field had a beginning. As far as we can tell, that's been there. That's been here as long as the universe has been. And
yeah, but
things
there's
are
something
made of the
floating.
electron field. Things are made of various quark fields and so on, or various excitations in the quark fields. And so, sure, you could say that like, the ball began to exist because because somebody took, some rubber or some, sheepskin or whatever, and formed it into the shape of a ball. But that rubber, that sheepskin existed beforehand. And even before the rubber and the sheepskin existed, the atoms that make it up existed. And even before the atoms that make it up existed, the electrons and the quarks existed. And even before those electrons and quarks existed, the electron fields and the quark fields existed. And those things, as far as we can tell, have always been here.
In the universe.
Yeah. They've been part of the universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And okay, let me ask you a question, and I'll begin by answering it. What argument, but a plausible, something that's reasonable, would make you believe in God? I will tell you what would make me not doubt God, but to realize I've got something wrong. if there was an alien invasion, I would say I might have misread the text, because nowhere does it say about an alien invasion. I would certainly doubt what I believe in. So what will make you doubt, but reasonable things? I've heard you
To be
someday
clear,
say
are
that
you
it's
saying that an
an
alien
alien
invasion is
invasion.
reasonable?
I'm saying it's not reasonable, which is why if it happened, I would doubt
Okay,
my
so why can't
text,
I
because
use something
I
that's
don't
not
know that.
reasonable?
Um,
You use something
sure.
that's not reasonable.
I mean, it could happen, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's not.
so
It's not like
so
it's
for
not
example,
impossible.
if
It's
the
it's
angel
not
Gabriel
likely.
came down to me personally and spoke to me, that would be very
Yeah,
compelling.
yeah, but that, you see, that could be Satan. That could be a lot of that. That could be an alien
I'm
himself.
just telling you that if that happened to me, I would be very, very
Yeah.
likely to start believing in some kind of God.
Okay. What? Okay. Is there any scientific evidence that you would that would make you recheck what you believe in?
Like what do you mean? Like I would
Like
get out my phone and make
any
sure I'm not
fact?
hallucinating it. I would, get my wife and make sure that she sees it too.
No. Let's say
I'd
like
rub my
a
eyes.
yeah, like a scientific fact. Like I find it to me, I found it very interesting that the universe had a beginning. To me, that was very interesting, and that solidified my faith. Okay, so yeah, I mean,
Oh,
if you don't
well,
open your
but
heart,
I don't know if
yeah,
that's true. Like I don't think that
that
we
the
can
universe had a
justify that
beginning.
belief yet.
Well, I think the evidence is enough for me to believe in that. So,
Okay, I
I
mean,
mean,
like
you might be
that
skeptic, but I'm
that
convinced.
just means that like you have a low standard for believing. You have a low standard for evidence then, which is fine. Like who am I to tell you how to
I don't
interpret
think so.
evidence?
I don't. I think that the
I'm
normal atheist is what I like to call is extremely skeptical for certain things. Like I don't
well,
think
Sheikh,
your level of skepticism will apply to every single aspect
Sheikh.
of your life.
If it
Yeah,
were the case that the evidence were pointing in favor of the universe having a beginning, then
yeah.
most cosmologists, the people who are most familiar with the evidence, would believe you. And most cosmologists do not agree with you on that. Most cosmologists do not agree that the universe had a beginning. It seems like the cosmological community is pretty divided. There's not some mainstream consensus.
Yeah, but you could say that there's been more growth on the side that the universe had a beginning on the last like 50 years or 100 years. Like
So
before, that was
his
very implausible, but
so
now it's becoming more
historically,
credible.
prior
Yeah,
to like the 1900s, like nobody had any idea about anything. Um,
yeah.
After relativity came out, it was kind of believed that like, you know,
Mhm.
sorry. After relativity, it was kind of mainstream to believe that the universe always existed up until like the 50s and 60s. And then it switched to believing that then most people started to believe that, oh, the universe had a beginning and it will have an end between the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then inflation comes around, and with it, internal inflation. And after about the 80s, maybe the mid 80s, people have become a lot more agnostic about whether the universe had a beginning. So it was only
Yeah.
really for like a
So
20-year period where people actually thought that the universe had a beginning, and that was like the mainstream thing.
yeah, I understand.
So
And
that so
look,
that that's not a majority of that's not a majority of recent history. It's not a majority of cosmologists that believe
yeah,
this.
yeah, sure, sure. I understand that. I just think that the people who don't accept it are being very extremely skeptical on certain things. I think that your standard of evidence for
The people
that
who don't
specific
accept it are
fact is way too high.
cosmologists.
Yeah, because I think that if the normal atheist accepts the fact that the
We're not
universe
talking
had a
about normal
beginning,
atheists. We're talking about cosmologists. We're talking about people who
sure,
know the evidence.
know the evidence, who are also atheists, right? No,
Yes,
most of them agnostic. Yeah,
cosmologists do overwhelmingly tend to be atheists. So that should also
yeah,
concern you that the people who know the evidence about the history of the universe the best are
yeah.
overwhelmingly atheists. That should worry you.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. Don't worry, I'm good.
Okay.
It doesn't
I mean, it
worry me.
should. It should. Like, these are the people who know
It
the
does
most
worry me
about the
because
history
look,
of the universe,
let me
and
tell you this.
they're telling you that, yeah, they don't think a god did it.
Well, I would say that it's not that they don't think a god did it; it's that they're not convinced that a god did it, but they don't have any evidence to prove the contrary. Okay, and I
Yeah,
also
but
believe that
to be clear, you're the one saying that there's a that the evidence points to the universe having a beginning, and they're telling
yeah.
you, yeah, no, it doesn't.
Well, they're saying they're not convinced by it. Yeah, I get it. I get it. That's what they're saying. Do you think that your ego can stop you from believing a fact and rejecting it?
Yeah, humans have pretty strong
Yeah, it does. So
cognitive dissonance, definitely.
yeah, exactly. So I think that if you are, let's say, predisposed to not accept a God, then you would most likely always try to bend the evidence for it. Look, I look at it as flat earthers. You can give a flat earther every evidence you want. He's not going to believe the earth is round. He's not going to do it because he doesn't want to. you know so I think that the same thing is happening with most atheists who study cosmology, and they don't come to this conclusion. I don't think they want to.
So
And
would you
yeah,
say
I
generally,
think that it could happen.
Sheikh, would you say
Yeah.
generally that which group are less likely to be dogmatic? Because that's what you're referring to here. You're referring to dogmas.
Yeah.
Would you say that
Yes.
scientists are less likely to be dogmatic, or religious religious people are less likely to be dogmatic?
Well, it depends on how you would define either.
So
If you would,
let's take non-religious
let's take a
scientists
Muslim.
and let's
Sure,
take
non-religious.
religious Muslims. Who's less
Sure.
likely to be dogmatic?
If you were to take traditional religious Muslims, I would say that traditional religious Muslims are way less dogmatic, and these are the ones who actually invented
Really?
or
Because
set the basis of
dogma
most
is
of the
kind of like
science.
the thing, right? For religion. That's what religion's
Well,
about.
not in
It's about
Islam.
dogma.
Not in Islam. Not in Islam. It's not. It's all justified, and that's why you find many of the Arab Muslims back in the day. They invented a lot of things, right? They made
Yep.
advances in a lot of sciences because our religion
Absolutely.
is not dogmatic at all. I
Well,
think
hold
it
on,
became
but
dogmatic recently, but
so
originally it's not.
and by the way, am I pronouncing Sheikh wrong? People are making fun of me in the comments. Is it
No,
Sheikh?
no,
Is it Sheikh?
it's right. It's right.
Okay,
It's Sheikh, but
I thought it was.
Sheikh is a title. My name is
Yeah.
Harris. Sheikh is a title.
Okay, Harris. Well, would you prefer I call you Harris?
Yeah, I prefer you call me Harris.
Okay, Harris.
Fine.
So look, my point is that we have one person, you,
Yeah.
who's saying, yeah, these scientists, they're likely to be biased because of cognitive dissonance, and so they're going to try to distort the evidence to fit their views, to fit their atheism as much as they can. And I'm just saying, look, you're doing the same thing. You're saying, look, you believe in God, you believe it, you're a Muslim, and so you're going to try to find and distort the evidence in a way that you can to match your views. And all I'm
I don't
saying is
think I'm
that it
doing
seems like scientists generally are the category of people who are less likely to do that than the average person. Because one of the things that you have to do as a scientist is continually question things, right? You're trained to do that.
Okay, sure. Let me put it to you like this, okay? Who has more to lose if you twist
You
the
do.
facts?
You have your
Religious
whole
person?
worldview to lose.
No, not just my whole world. In my mind, if I twist the facts, God will punish me severely. It is not in my interest to do
I
that.
don't think that you're doing it intentionally. I don't think anybody ever does it intentionally. It's a cognitive
Yeah,
bias.
sure, of course. But I do believe you can conquer your own biases, and I like to think that I'm going there, try to conquer my own biases, which is why I believe every single creed and belief system that I have is justified. I mean, I can explain it to you in a way that you might not agree with it, but you will understand my reasoning. Okay, you might, because I can't make you agree. That's it's not in my ability to do that. But I do believe that throughout the beginning of Islamic religion, as the word spread, it gave way to a lot of scientific development, and that should show you that this is not a dogmatic religion. It does not limit human development, and we're not afraid of our faith
Well,
being
to be clear,
challenged. because
dogma
we
is not
believe.
like definitionally bad.
Dogma
I'm
is
just
a
saying,
belief.
all I'm saying is
I
that
think it's
like
bad.
all
I
I'm
think
saying
it's
is
bad.
that people who is that part of being part of an organized religion is kind of like definitionally having dogmas, having like these are like the creeds that you believe if you take part in this piece of organized religion. Now you may you may have some sort of justification for those beliefs,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean it's not a dogma.
Okay, I would define a dogma as believing in something with no evidence. You just believe in it because someone told you to do so. Would
So
you
then
agree with me on that?
I would say that generally scientists are the group of people, and it's not impossible, of course, but I would say that scientists are the group of people who are least likely to do that.
In comparison to most people alive
In comparison
today,
to any other category group or any other group of people,
Yeah,
I would say.
today I would say today that would be the case today.
And so
Right?
so
If we
like it
take
and that includes like if you take a Muslim person
yeah a
and
normal
a
Muslim person.
scientist, a scientist is
Yeah,
more likely to be to question their own belief. Now, of course, obviously there
yeah,
are scientists who do fall into biases. Of course, we're all human. But what I'm saying
yeah,
is generally speaking, if the vast majority of cosmologists say, "Oh yeah, well, there's not
yeah,
enough evidence to determine that the universe had a beginning or not," I am
yeah.
more willing to trust that that they are making an accurate assessment of the data than I am to trust
Okay.
any other group of people that they are making an inaccurate assessment of the data, and actually they're just relying on cognitive biases.
Okay, so what I can comment on that is, well, do you think that if cosmologists, okay, all of a sudden say and believe that the universe had a beginning, they have a lot to lose by doing that. Their reputation
There
would be
are
spoiled.
cosmologists who are atheists, by the
Maybe
way,
their
who think the
function.
universe had a beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
I've
just
seen. There's this Russian guy that
yeah, his
really
yeah,
made
I know
very
who
good.
you're referring to. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Alexander Valenkin, I think.
That's it, Valenkin, the
Yeah, he
Ruth
thinks the universe
growth.
had a beginning. And like
He said that any universe that has a growth rate of 1 must have had a beginning. Otherwise, it will collapse.
yeah,
Not
so
possible.
the Borg-Guth-Valenkin theorem has issues,
Yeah.
and we could talk about that, but it gets technical.
Okay.
But suffice it to say,
Perhaps you
I
can
don't agree with
continue.
him. But like I think he's an atheist, and he also thinks
Yeah,
it had a
he's an
beginning.
atheist. Yeah. Yeah.
So like
Exactly. He's an atheist.
so it
Doesn't believe in
wouldn't upend like so most cosmologists are atheists. Suppose for a moment that new data came out that proved definitively that the universe had a beginning. That wouldn't stop cosmology. That wouldn't upend their atheism.
Yeah, sure.
It wouldn't upend their worldview.
Um,
So they don't even have a reason to be biased about it.
I don't know. I think they do. I think their egos. I think their egos are stopping them.
The whole
Um,
business of being a scientist is that you have to put aside your ego and be willing to be wrong. That's the goal, right? The
that's
goal
the
is
goal. But
the goal is proving other people wrong, and that what comes with the territory is
sure.
being willing to be proven wrong yourself.
Yeah, I
That's
know,
why we
but you
submit
can
to
only
peer
achieve
review.
that goal. You can only achieve that goal after you go through rigorous spiritual training.
You
I
don't
don't
need to
think
go
you can
through
just
rigorous
do
spiritual
that.
training to be willing to be wrong.
Well, it doesn't have to be religious, but you need to do some training to control your
Yeah,
ego
and what do you
to say I'm wrong.
what
It's really
just to be
embarrassing
clear,
to say I'm wrong.
what do you think grad school is? Grad school
I mean,
5 to 7 years of somebody telling you that you're wrong like every day of the week.
yeah, I get that, but you have no power to challenge him. Now imagine you're like you won the Nobel Prize. You're like a famous scientist, and now all of a sudden you have to say, "Oh, actually, I was wrong." That would that would be embarrassing. But there's something I wanted to comment on.
Sure,
I'd
go ahead.
forgotten. Is when you said that if the average Muslim would not believe would actually believe everything in our religion is true. An interesting fact is that every single scientific discovery that has been made so far, nothing contradicts what is written in our holy book. There is
I mean,
there's not
that's an
one
interesting claim.
contradiction.
But
Yeah,
so and there's just a standard
we
go-to
all
one. Um,
yeah.
do you think that the moon split in two?
Yeah, I think the moon split in two, but that's not something we can prove.
But if the moon split in two, then other people would have seen it too, and they didn't.
Yeah. Well, other people that were there with the Prophet Muhammad,
No, I mean like
they saw it.
Chinese people would have seen it.
Well, it wouldn't be. Would it be night in China for them to see it?
So
Would it be night there?
so what
Would
we
there
can
be a full moon in
establish
China?
what we can establish
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that
maybe.
what we can establish and in fact I think we actually know that and I've spoken with an ex-Muslim about this. I think we actually know that the moon was visible in the east, and that's
Okay.
where it split. So if the moon was in the east, that means that the moon would have been overhead in China. So
Yeah,
they would
sure.
have seen this happen,
They would have seen this happen.
but they
Perhaps, I
didn't.
don't know.
But they didn't, and they wrote down
I
like
think it was
everything weird
quick.
that happened in the sky.
Yeah. Well, would it be seen in China? Because look,
Yes, it would have been
what's the time
if it
difference
happened.
between Mecca and Beijing, for example?
Probably my guess
can
is
you
6
check that?
hours.
Yeah, but ahead or behind? you know. So
Oh,
if you can
it's
just check.
China's ahead. So Beijing is 5 hours ahead of Mecca.
So if it was like 10 o'clock in Mecca, it would have been what in
Like 3 in the
Beijing?
morning.
3 in the morning, which people
Uh-huh.
would be probably be sleeping, right?
People were looking at the sky at all times of the day. Like the Chinese
Because
astronomers were really, really prolific. They wrote down everything weird that happened.
yeah.
Are you saying that?
Well,
Are you saying that and these were like royal positions, right? So are you saying that there were no guards that would have noticed the moon splitting in two and then waking somebody up? Emperor, the moon, it's split in two. Like,
yeah, well, I get where you're coming from. I do think that, look, there are many theological ways to get out of this. Like, I could say that perhaps it only happened there. Perhaps it was very quick that no one could see it, you know? There are various ways to get out of this. It's a miracle. I don't think it's something we can prove, but that is just faith. You just have to believe in that as faith. There are other parts of it, but that doesn't contradict logic because it's physically possible to split the
okay,
moon.
what
We
about
just
there's also the
do
fact
it.
that during fetal development, flesh does not grow around bone,
Yeah.
right?
During fetal development, flesh does
Yeah.
not grow around bone. So where does
Yeah.
the flesh grow?
So the
Grows
flesh
inside
grows
the bone?
first, and then the bone forms inside of it. The order is not first bone forms, then flesh grows around it. It's first flesh forms, then bone grows within it.
Is there
Bone
cartilage
grows within it.
inside? Is the bone matter inside the flesh?
It's the bone matter.
Is there
Yeah,
cartilage?
the
Yeah.
bone is
So,
within the flesh, but the flesh forms first, right?
but the bone is there as well.
The
Okay.
bone only
And
forms afterwards. The order is wrong.
yeah, but well, the bone matter is there, so I don't
I
see
don't know
where
what
the
you mean by
problem
the
is.
bone matter. The bone didn't exist yet. There was flesh, and then the flesh,
Okay, what is the
and then
bone
bone
made
grows
of?
afterwards.
Yeah, but it's not like the bone comes from outside
So
of the baby
no,
flesh.
but the point
Comes
is
from
that
inside.
in the Quran it says that
The
first
sequence.
the bone forms, then the flesh grows around it. But that's just not that's the
Yeah.
incorrect order.
Mhm. Well, look for that, and there's another one that perhaps you didn't know. In the Quran, it does say that the seed of man is formed from his backbone.
But wait, why aren't we talking about the thing I just brought up? Which,
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
said
I'm
there's
just
not a
adding
single thing
another
that's
one.
disproved, but that one is.
Yeah, sure. I'm adding you another one. I'm giving you a second one, so I can speak on both together. In the Quran, it does say that the seed of man comes from his backbone, and we know it's from the testicles, right?
Sure. Well, I
Yeah.
think it's from the prostate, but sure.
Yeah, but it's not from the backbone. Well, look, to that, all we have to say is science hasn't caught up to the Quran yet. Eventually, it's going to catch up to it, and gonna prove us right.
Okay, so
Eventually,
well,
just
but
like it has
hold
been so
on.
many times in the past.
So you're saying
Yeah,
that there's nothing
yeah,
in the Quran that's contradicted by science, and then you yourself brought
yeah.
up an example of something that's contradicted by science, and you're just saying, oh well, the science is wrong. Like, what? So there are things that are
I'm
contradicted by
saying,
science. You just think the science is wrong. But surely
those two
you're
things
not
that are
dogmatic.
things. I'm not dogmatic because I
That's
do
what
believe that the word.
that's like definitionally dogma. Why else would you
Okay,
believe that the backbone produces the semen?
I didn't say it produces the semen. I don't know like how to interpret the verse. I don't know if there's a metaphor somewhere. I don't know that. But look, if I know that this word is from God, then I just have to believe in it because it's
But
from
doesn't
God.
it say
I
if there's
believe
one thing in it that's false, then you shouldn't believe it? Doesn't
I
it say
don't think
something
the
like that?
Quran says that, but that is true. That is definitely true. If something is wrong, if it contradicts a logical fact, then it should be wrong. Then the whole thing would be put into question. But look, when did the sun? When was it discovered that the sun has its own orbit? When was it discovered? Like scientifically, when was that
That
established
the
as
sun
a
orbits
scientific fact?
around what? I mean, like,
Around
in
the Milky Way, around the Milky Way, like it moves, like that the sun moves
I mean,
with
it depends on your reference frame, but generally that would have been like, I guess, in the early 20th century or something like this.
exactly. So,
But hold on,
when
hold
I was
on.
in
You
school
can
in the
so
early
just to be
90s,
clear, you can bring up an example
yeah,
of the Quran apparently getting something right, and that doesn't
yeah,
disprove the fact that it got some things wrong.
Well, I am showing you that it's a very advanced fact, not possible to have been, discovered back then. When I was in school, I learned that the sun was static, and I was very confused reading the Quran because it says that the sun
Well,
moves.
from the
I was
sun's
very
reference
confused.
frame, it isn't moving. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, from its reference, yeah, but it is actually moving. And
Well, no, I
I
mean
learned in school
that's not something that
100%.
there is no actually moving, right? Every reference frame is equally good as another.
Sure, but what I'm saying is this is one example of science catching up to the Quran. So I do think in these other
But
events,
hold on, sorry,
science
what's the verse?
Um, Surah Yasin, I don't know which number.
That's
Just
fine.
say
What's the verse number? Oh,
وَالشَّمْسُ
yeah, I can pull
تَجْرِي,
it up.
and the
Is it
sun moves. Yasin,
yeah,
Surah
yeah,
Yasin.
Yasin. It's I think it's 36 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. And this it does not befit the sun. وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ لَهَا, and the sun travels on its defined orbit. The sun travels on
Is
its
it verse
defined
30
orbit.
or
Read
36
it,
or
and I'll
something?
tell you.
Well, no,
Just
so
read it, and I'll tell you.
once I see the sun, once I see the verse, I'll see it. I just need to actually find it.
Yeah, just say sun.
Because I'm familiar with
And
this
the
verse as
sun,
well.
yeah, sun moves in its orbit, defined orbit. Yes.
Yeah. So we have neither it is for the sun to overtake the moon, nor can the night outpace the day. Each one is floating in an orbit. There are a few different
Well,
translations, each traveling in an orbit of their own. Each floats in its own orbit. None of this says anything
you know
about.
what float there?
Yeah, I mean, like it depends on, I guess, on what your preferred English translation is.
Yeah, sure.
Like some say traveling in an orbit. It just depends. But the point is that this could equally well be interpreted as, yes, the sun and the moon travel around the Earth in their own orbits, which is probably what they believed, because that's what everybody believed at the time.
Well, you could understand it that way.
But
you know,
my point is
but
it doesn't say anything about a galaxy. It doesn't say anything about the sun orbiting a great mass of stars. Like you are reading something into it, right?
okay, understood. Well, I see how you can look at it that way, but I think that well, at least to me, was quite interestingly
Yeah,
revealing,
likewise.
because I think if you look at other major religions like Christianity, Judaism, they have way more dogmas, and they would believe that the sun would revolve around the earth and the earth was still. And there are some Muslims who believe that, but I will
Yep,
let you
I've
know
met
that
flat earther
most
Muslims, by the
Muslim
way.
scholars, yeah, they're just wrong. There are various Muslims from the 6th Islamic century, that would be 600 years ago, that believed that the earth was round, that believed that the
Most
sun
people believed
orbits
the
the
Earth was round, even
No, based
2,000
on
years
the
ago.
Quranic verses. Yeah, based on the Quranic verses. So
Well, sure,
before
but
all
that's
of
just
this
because Muhammad
Islamic
probably
development,
believed it was round.
well, it's in the Quran that it was round. Yes,
I mean, but
you
that's
could
not
see.
surprising. Most
You
people
do know
believed it was round at the
you
time.
do know that Muhammad was an illiterate man, right?
He was,
You
yeah,
do
but
know
he was.
wasn't
I mean, he may have been illiterate, but he was also a merchant, and merchants hear stories.
Merchants hear stories, yes, but the stories he told were not told in Arabia at all.
Well, that's the
None.
claim. I don't know how you would prove
That is the
that.
claim. Well, I proved that by saying no one else was telling those stories. And even when he says, I'm a prophet, people were like, what's a prophet? Like, what's that? Like, what are
I
you
mean, like,
talking
we
about?
know that he interacted with Jewish communities, right?
No, that's way later. And the Jewish communities
No, I mean,
were,
like he did, like during his travels, like I mean, it's mentioned in the Quran, right? That he did interact with Jewish communities. So this just means that he interacted with a lot of different people groups, like
okay. So
evidently.
there's only one incident that is attributed to this interaction, which is doubtful if it ever happened or how it happened, which is when he went to do commerce in Jordan, a place called Busra.
Wasn't there a
Basra.
town that he promised to give, that he promised to protect, and the town was filled with Jews, and then he didn't protect it? Wasn't that a thing?
No, that's not true, bro. That's totally made up.
Hold on, let me.
100%. Yeah, sure. It's totally made up.
Hold on, I could be misremembering. Is it the siege of Banu Qurayza or Qurayza?
Banu Qurayza? Oh, Banu Qurayza?
Yeah,
Yeah,
was that...
sure. I can tell you about that. Yeah.
So they were a Jewish tribe that once lived in Medina.
Yes.
Though allied with the
Yes,
Muslims and even lent them equipment to dig the trench during the Battle of the Trench, refused to fight in the battle as they were offended by Muhammad's attacks on Jews.
Yeah.
Al-Waqidi states that Muhammad had a treaty with the tribe, which was torn up by them. Norman, Stillman, and Wyatt
Yeah.
and Watt believed that the existence of such a treaty was doubtful. So was
Yeah.
this not an event where Jews were attacked by
By
the
Muhammad,
or at least Muhammad's people?
by by Muslims. Well, they were attacked, but it was not because they were Jewish. It's
Well,
not
no, I
due
mean
to
that
their.
wasn't my claim. I never claimed that it was because they were Jewish.
Okay.
I was just saying that like they
Okay.
obviously interacted with Jewish communities.
Okay, sure. So let me tell you about the interaction. Okay, so firstly, Muhammad.
But
lived
wait,
in
do you agree
Mecca
that there
for
was an
50
interaction there?
Yeah, sure, 100%.
Well, but
That's
that was just my point. That like Muhammad obviously interacted with other people groups. He didn't just talk,
Yeah,
he didn't just stay in one place and talk with his own people. This is
okay,
evidence of that.
sure.
So he would have heard
That
stories.
is
You hear
evidence.
stories when you're a merchant. That's a thing that you do.
Well, yeah, but you're mentioning a story that was very late into the prophecy. Like almost everything.
The
was
only
already.
reason I'm giving this as an example is because it's
Yeah.
evidence that he interacted with other people groups. Unless you're saying that he
Yes.
only started interacting with other people groups after the revelation
Yeah.
occurred.
Well, we could say that he lived in Medina because that happened in Medina, and there were no
Do you
Jews
think
in
that he never
Mecca.
left Medina as a trader?
No, Mecca, first Mecca. He left
Okay, so then
once.
he clearly traveled at least between two cities.
Okay, so we have his life before his prophethood, which was until
Yeah.
his 40s, right?
And is the
In
claim that he
which
never left his
traveled to
hometown?
commerce. No, he did. He
So then he
was a
would have heard
merchant.
look, then he would have heard stories
Okay,
from the people that he buys and sells
but
from.
no one in Mecca, okay, no one in Mecca other than him was telling the stories that he
But
was
he
telling.
wasn't staying
Okay.
only in Mecca. He wandered out. You
Yes,
just said that he
but
did.
he didn't go alone. He didn't go alone. He
Hmm.
went with a group of people, right? Because
Yeah.
he went to do commerce, he traded,
Yeah,
and
and
he
he would
came
have heard
back.
stories from all
And he
sorts of different
wasn't even
people.
sure, but he wasn't even the most prominent merchant.
Sure.
There were many merchants, but the question is, why are these stories unknown by anybody in
Who
the
says
Arabian
wait, but
Peninsula?
they who says that they were? Just because we don't have their writing doesn't mean that they weren't like in the zeitgeist.
Well,
Like it seems
firstly,
far more plausible to me that like Greek philosophy had made its way to the Middle East. And so there
Greek
were
philosophy
aspects of
was way later. It's like
no Greek
200s
it
after
Greek
Hijrah.
philosophy was far earlier than Muhammad, right? Like 1,000 years earlier.
Yeah,
And
but
so it's super plausible
made
that
its
that
way
philosophy
into
could
the
have
Arab later.
it's super plausible that that philosophy could have migrated out from its point of origin and ended up in the ears of Muhammad. Like
That is not
that's
possible
it.
because
These
Greek
ideas couldn't have
philosophy
spread
was
in
not
1,000
actually
years.
accessible. Greek philosophy was not actually accessible, and if you actually look at Christianity, that
Why do you
looks a
think
lot
that?
like Greek
They knew about Christianity.
and Islam
Christianity
does
was
not
Greek
look like
philosophy.
Greek philosophy. They had heard about it like here and there. It's not like they knew it. It's not like they've read the Bible or anything. They would know there's some religion called Christians, and there's
Yeah,
some
and they would have
religion
heard that they
called
believe in this guy
Jews.
named
But
Jesus,
you
and
know
so
that
they would have heard these ideas. That's all I'm saying. That they would have heard these ideas.
they would have heard of a guy called Jesus. But you know that most Arabs were pagans, right? They were idol worshippers, right? They
Sure.
weren't
Look, all I'm
religious.
saying is that, like, and this doesn't seem so far-fetched,
Yeah.
that, like, these ideas, which we had evidence that they spread, these ideas that they could have made their ways to Muhammad's ears. That's all I'm saying. And
Not with the
that's
details.
so that's
Not
such a standard, like it's so typical and so
yeah.
so easy to believe because obviously ideas are going to spread over the course of 1,000 years.
Sure. Not with the details that Muhammad had. Not with
Yeah,
those
I mean
details.
that might be evident because he got some of the details wrong.
He did not get them wrong. They actually got them right, all of them. Like, for example,
Well,
I think
a
I've
lot
told
of his
you
claims are
before.
very similar to ancient Greek philosophy or ancient Greek beliefs,
Like
but are not
what?
exactly the
Like
same.
what? Like what?
The thing about the
Like what?
fetus, the fetal developments,
fetus.
those ideas are basically identical to Herodotus's description in Herodotus's medical books. But they're not
Okay,
exactly identical, but they're very similar.
Yeah.
Same with the
Okay, I
claim about
will.
the sperm, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So like
I will.
that was
I
also
will
in
check on
Herodotus's or no, I'm sorry, it's Galen, not Herodotus.
Okay.
And so like the fact that they're very similar but not identical seems to me that that's
Yeah.
exactly what would happen if the ideas kind of spread.
I will check on that. Although I have heard many doctors say that the embryology part is right. I haven't sat down to like analyze what doctors who say yes and who say no are saying, but most of them that I've seen,
I
at
mean, we know
least,
that the
who
order
are
of we know that bone doesn't form before flesh. Like that's like known embryology.
Okay, sure. I need to check something in the verse if there's a specific letter, because there's a specific letter that implies sequence, and there's one that doesn't. Okay, so I'll check that, and
Okay.
I will let you know. But okay, I had told you before that Muhammad, when speaking about Joseph, he mentions in the Quran that the rulers of Egypt were kings, and the Bible calls them pharaohs.
Okay.
And they were not pharaohs; they were kings,
I mean,
because the pharaohs, the
sure,
Coptic
they
people,
may very
ruled
well have
after
known,
Joseph.
they may very well have had a different understanding of Egyptian hierarchy. That's fine. There's nothing so
No,
surprising
no,
there.
no, no. They did not, because that is very ancient history, and Pharaoh was actually the closest thing they had, and the most famous term. And
Wait, you're talking about
they,
during the Roman era? No, they didn't have pharaohs.
I'm talking about Joseph. Well, Joseph's time, there were no
Wait,
pharaohs.
which Joseph?
It was a
Jesus
king
is Joseph, or like the Joseph is of Israel, Joseph?
of Israel, the Joseph of Israel. Yeah, Yusuf. We call him
So
Yusuf.
what year
That
are we
was very
what
true.
year are we talking about here?
Whoa, like what? Like 4,000 before Christ, something like that. It's a
I
long
think it would
time
have been
ago.
I think it would have been like 1400 BC. Um,
Yeah, that was a long time ago, bro.
right. But
That was
during
like
the
that's
so
that's actually
this is New Kingdom
that's even
Egypt.
before Moses. That's even before
I
Moses.
think New Kingdom Egypt had
Before Moses.
pharaohs. Yeah, New
Well,
Kingdom
check
Egypt
before
had
Moses.
pharaohs. I did just check.
I don't think that's
The
New
New
Kingdom
Kingdom is
Egypt.
named after the period of ancient Egyptian history covers the 18th, 19th, and 20th dynasties, and
No,
this is known as the Ramesside period. It is named after the 11 pharaohs who took the name Ramses, who founded the 19th
that was before
dynasty.
that. That's before that. It's before that.
Well, no, I mean, so this is when the exile is supposed to have happened.
No, yeah, and it's way before the exile, like way before the
So
exile.
you want to know when Joseph? Okay, when did Joseph?
Joseph, son of
The,
Jacob.
yeah, there you go. Son of Jacob live. Okay,
Yes. Yeah,
around the
sure.
20th. So he would have lived during the 20th century BC if he lived at all. He probably didn't live, but if he did live at all, it would have been during the 20th century BC. So let's go
Way
look.
before the Pharaoh.
Well, yeah. So let's go look. In the I think that's the Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom of Egypt. This would have been this would have been the 20th century, and in the Middle Kingdom they had pharaohs.
It's not the dynasty of Coptics. These were not pharaohs.
They were called pharaohs.
I have
They are
seen.
still called
I
pharaohs
have
by
seen.
modern scholars.
Well, okay.
I can read to you their
check
names.
sources.
Like the 12th
Sure, I
dynasty,
will
we
check
have.
sources. I will check sources, no problem.
Okay.
And I will
I
let
mean,
you know.
so like you can just check when
Yeah.
pharaohs started being a thing. We have their names. Armenemhat, Senesret, Armenemhat, Senesret,
Yeah,
Armenemhat.
those
Like
are
that's the 12th
pharaohs.
dynasty.
Those are pharaohs. Those are Coptic. That you can tell.
These are pharaohs
that
of
those
the Middle Kingdom. So one of these, for example, lived in like 2000 BC, which is, when Joseph would have lived.
Well, I will check those sources and I will let them know. No problem.
Okay. All right. Well, Sheikh, I'm gonna let you go. Just because
Thank you
I
very
have a
much.
lot of guests. But thanks for being here. I do appreciate it.
I learned a lot with you. Thanks, bro. Take care.
Likewise. Take care. All right, y'all. I'm gonna read some super chats and then we'll move on to the next guest. And I'm gonna bring up a guest from the TikTok queue. So don't you worry your little pants. Right. So we have from $20 from Spac Monkey. This guest is such a hostile moron. Wasn't talking about the most recent guest. Thank you, doctor, for sharing your patience with us. So that was the guy before him. The most recent guest was quite nice. And then from Chi with the $2, would you be able to argue against Cliff Connectal if you wanted to come on, or if you wanted to set something up? Sure. From Cognitive Dissonance with the $5, where did all the winged horses come from? But atheists are illogical for not believing split moons and winged horses. Yeah, we know your claims are false, silly. That's fair. And from AstroStims, thank you for becoming a 1 month member. Welcome to one. I don't know actually know what that means, but I think that you can like subscribe, like become a paid subscriber on YouTube, in which case, thank you. And then from Jose Perez with the $5, first time donor, love your content. Pythagoras and Aristarchus proposed round Earth and heliocentric model respectively, many centuries before the Quran. Yes, that's absolutely true. It's very, these ideas are very, very old. They're not forever old, but they're very, very old. All right, let's bring up a guest from the YouTube queue. Let us talk to Julian. Julian, how's it going? Can you hear me? I cannot hear you. Your audio.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Julian, right. Do you believe in God?
Yeah.
Okay, and which one, if you don't mind me asking?
The God of, I guess to put it, I'd say God, the God of Christianity.
Okay, great. And what would you say is the most compelling reason you could offer me that, you know, might convince me to believe in that?
I don't have a reason that might convince you, but I can say that from my own life, I've seen different things that just line up so perfectly there couldn't be any other explanation.
Okay, yeah, let's hear them.
Well, I think that personally, I mean, I've been through plenty of things. I've got plenty of testimonies and things I could tell you about why I believe in God. I grew up in church as a child, and I believed in God as a kid, but it was kind of like, you know what I'm saying, like that's what you're supposed to do. You know, I'm growing up in church. I got my family's Christian family, so yeah, that's the first reason. And then going out to college, I went to college at 24, and I was in a different state. And I'm originally from Maryland, but then I went to Georgia. And
So, Julian, if I can interrupt you. So,
go for it, man.
I understand that you may have had a personal experience, in which case,
Yeah.
that's a perfectly good reason for you to believe. But surely you can imagine that
Yeah.
it's not a good reason for me to believe at all. Your personal
Yeah,
experience.
No, yeah.
So I'd like to
That's
hear
totally right.
an argument, or I'd like to hear an argument or evidence or a reason why I should believe. Because your experiences won't
Well,
mean much to me.
The only thing I can tell you is this. Honestly, there is no human evidence or physical evidence or anything that I believe any human being could bring to you to get you to believe in God. And that's just the point blank. I believe it's got to be a personal experience.
Okay.
It's
Well, but I haven't had that. So
yeah.
does that mean that I'm justified in not believing in God?
Well, yeah. I mean, in a way, yeah. That does mean that you're justified in not believing in God because you have that option. But my question to you would be why don't you believe in God? Like, what has brought you to that conclusion?
I just haven't really been given any good reasons, essentially. Like,
I got you.
there's
So,
not,
like,
like, you
oh,
know,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that's, okay, that's basically it.
So what I'm hearing is you've been given better reasons to believe that there is no God, or
I've been given,
or not believe in God, rather.
I haven't been given good reasons to believe in God, and I have been given good reasons to not believe in God. Yeah.
So the reasons to not believe in God are better for you
Yep.
than the reasons to believe in God.
Yeah.
Okay, what's one of those?
Yeah, that it seems like kind of self-evident that myself, my sense of self, the person that I am, exists in my brain, if only because my first person perspective seems like it's behind my eyes, and when I fall on the ground, I don't try to protect my liver, I don't try to protect my heart, I try to protect my head, because I have this instinctual belief that my brain is the thing that is myself. And that leads me to conclude that, well, brains, or that mind's personal like agency, these are things that are attached to brains. So like an animal protects its head for the same reason, because it has a sense of self, and its sense of self comes from its brain. And if that's the case, then that just gives me the intuition that, well, all minds, all beings if they have a being at all, they must have a brain or something like it.
Mhm.
And God's not supposed to have such a thing. So it seems like if God doesn't have a brain, then God can't be a mind. And yet those two things are both supposed to be true.
Well, I would say to that, God isn't a being, God is being.
Does
You know what
God
I'm
have
saying?
thoughts?
Yes.
Well, then that's all I mean. What I mean is that in order to have thoughts, it seems like you need a brain.
I got you. So you couldn't believe that there would be a God if, like, I'm trying to get to that.
That's that's like the simplest and most intuitive reason why this all seems fake and made up. Like, yeah, in order to have thoughts, it seems like you need a brain, and God doesn't have a brain, and yet God is supposed to have thoughts. So that seems made up.
I got you. Well, let me raise you this question: do you believe that animals believe in God?
I suspect not.
What do you? And I know this is kind of left field. But what do you think animals think is the reason for their existence, or
I
do
don't
you
know if
think
they
that
even
they
think
think
that. I
about
don't know
that?
if they. I don't think they think about that.
I got you. I got you. So
I would
what would be the
honestly,
reason
I would
for them
hope
to?
that I would hope that they don't think about that, because some animals live horrible lives, and I would hope that they're just not thinking about, like, where do I go after I die? Where did I come from? I would hope that they're not thinking that for their own sake.
Well, where do you think the idea of an animal to protect itself? That instinctual
I think it's
nature of
instinctual.
an animal. Yeah, instinctual, but why? What reason do you think an
Oh,
animal would have?
because that is like the primary organ. The brain is like the primary organ that has to be protected, otherwise the
Mm-hmm.
being dies. Otherwise the organism dies. And so animals that didn't protect that are going to be the animals that failed to thrive, and their ancestors would never have lived, or their descendants would never have
So
lived.
what's
Sorry.
no? I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So do you not think that comes from anywhere? Do you think that just
I think it comes
that's
from like
just how?
evolution. I think that's an evolved
Mhm.
trait.
So you think before they didn't care to protect themselves until they evolved into caring to protect
Well,
themselves?
I think that is a very, very early trait. So I don't think that there were ever deer walking around that didn't have this trait. I think that that's probably a trait that every single living organism has, with perhaps some very, very simple organisms having that as having it being an exception.
Okay. What do you believe is the origin of life? Like, period. Like the origin of
I
life,
think it's probably
because in
chemistry.
evolution. But like, where did life begin?
Somewhere on Earth, via chemical methods or chemical means.
Do you believe that there was a beginning of life versus?
Yeah, I think it began
The,
somewhere on Earth 4 billion years ago.
but how could it go from
Via
no
chemistry.
life at all to life? You said via
Chemistry.
chemistry.
Yeah.
So what chemical compound created or came to the conclusion of consciousness?
I don't think consciousness came around immediately. I think that took a very long time.
I got you. So you believe that life and consciousness are different?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't think bacteria have consciousness.
Ah, I got you. So what's the definition of life for you then?
I don't know. Like, some arrangement of chemicals that metabolizes, is capable of self-locomotion. Maybe not self-locomotion. That metabolizes, is capable of reproduction, is self-contained. I don't know. Maybe anything that meets those three criteria would qualify as life.
I got you. And like you were saying, like bacteria, you don't believe bacteria have consciousness, but you believe they have life.
Yeah, because I mean, like, they reproduce, they metabolize nutrients, and they're self-contained. Like, they have like little cell walls.
There's a debate that says that viruses can't be considered organisms because of certain attributes they don't have. Do you
Yeah,
believe that a virus
I don't know. I'm not a biologist, and I don't really, like, the question's not really interesting to me.
I got you, but there's a difference between bacteria and viruses, right?
I am aware of that, yeah. That's why I brought up bacteria,
Right.
not viruses.
So do you think a virus is a living thing?
I don't know. Using my definition, I suppose they're not because they don't metabolize. But you know, other people might disagree. But Julian, we're kind of off topic, and there's a long list of people, so I am going to move on. But thank you for being here, Julian. I appreciate you.
No problem.
All right, let's bring up another guest. Sorry for cutting you off early, Julian. But, you know, I only have like half an hour left, and we were not really talking about the topic anymore, so... just going to do a quick read of the super chats. From Buniform with the 5 British pounds. To strengthen your arguments, look on suffering of non-human animals, contradictions within religious texts, and the implications of evolution for belief. I've brought up literally all of those things today. So I don't know why you're suggesting that I haven't. Grubs, how's it going?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Do you believe in God?
I do.
Okay, and which one? Just so I can get some context.
The Abrahamic God, yeah.
Are you Jewish?
No. I am born Catholic. Most would call me a Unitarian at this point, but I believe I'm still Catholic.
Do you think that Jesus rose from the... Do you think that there's a Trinity?
No, and I think it was a misconception about the Trinity. Jesus only ever told us to pray that way one time. Yeah.
So you're like an unorthodox Christian, if you will.
Unfortunately, titles are a problem. So it is what it is.
It's just a useful, like, categories are useful. That's why we invent them. Anyway,
Absolutely.
So would you say that? So what would you say is like the most compelling argument or reason you could give me that I should believe what you believe?
Yeah, so I wanted to come up here to bring up a math question to you specifically because
Is it about the topic?
I'm not a math major. It is, yeah. I'm not a math major, so you'd be able to at least explore it a little bit more. But essentially, I was approached the problem with set theory. So essentially, God is the above set.
What's an above set?
Well, so sorry. If you define God as classically knowing everything, right? Then therefore, God is containing of all subsets of n, right, of God.
Hold on, I don't understand what you're saying. So we can talk about like the family of all propositions, for example.
I can change it around. So the only way we can describe things is via the words we have, correct?
Sure.
Okay, so you could say that all words, the finite alphabet, the finite dictionary, I guess you could say, for at least the time being, is within a set of finite strings, correct?
What was the last word? Finite what's?
Strings.
Oh, strings. I thought you said strudes. Yeah, the set of all things that are in principle knowable, I guess, would be the set of all finite strings of symbols.
But is it true? Is it true that most reals are indescribable, though?
Yeah.
And so if we can't describe it, does that make it not real?
Well, I don't think numbers have ontology to begin with. I don't know what you mean by real here, I guess.
It's a concept, right? It's the concept that matters.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that you can still conceptualize things that you can't describe, so...
Right, so, Gödel...
conceptually, those seem fine.
Right. So, like, Gödel and Cantor, essentially, like, showing that for any listing of, like, definable objects, there's an object outside of that list, right? Correct?
Yeah, sure, if you take a non-constructivist approach, sure.
Okay, so then the observable universe being the list that we are able to describe and observe, there has to be something outside of that to begin with, because it itself is a part of another set.
Well, to be clear, and because I hate when people do this. I hate when people do this. The descriptions of things. So mathematics is the way that we describe things, and you can have like true mathematical statements given axioms, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the way things are in reality, right? Like when we're talking about like Gödel's incompleteness, or kind of Gödel enumerations or Cantor's diagonalization arguments, we're talking about concepts. We're not talking about things that exist. Now the concepts might line up with the things that exist, and they might not. But I don't think that we can say that Cantor's diagonalization argument implies that there's something outside the universe.
No. Well, not implying, but leaves room for, right? Leaves room for.
I don't see how. We can just define the universe as the set of all, or as the collection of all things that exist.
But it does not
And you're done.
disprove God if I use God as the set and everything else is a subset of God. Because
What-
you can't
I'm
prove the set that God.
Sorry,
would
what are
be
you
in
trying to
begin-
prove?
So essentially, if we are a part of a subset of God, right? There's no way we would know all of the contents of. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of how to say this to you. The contents of that container. So we would only know the contents of our set, but would not know the complete contents of all of sets.
So we wouldn't know all true things. That's true.
Yes, that's just what I was trying to say.
I agree that we don't know all true things.
Yep.
What? I don't understand.
I just wanted to leave that out there because it leaves room for God to even exist. And it's not a convincing statement, but it leaves room for it to exist.
Well, I don't really see how that follows. Like,
What
yes,
do you
we
mean?
don't. So are you just saying there are some things we don't know, therefore maybe God exists?
There's some things we can never know. They're incomprehensible.
But that doesn't mean therefore God might exist.
No, but I'm saying it means that there's no way to prove that it doesn't.
No, sure it does. For example, you can prove that there's no number between there's no integer between 5 and 6, even if there are non-computable real numbers.
You can. Okay, mathematically, yes, but like for instance, like with a particle, right? We can't.
Well, no,
stop a
but you were
particle
talking
where
about
it's at.
mathematics. Let's not
Right,
shift to a different realm here.
No. This isn't shifting. I'm just saying, like everything changes based on the scale you go, right? Math is intrinsic to everything, but not the point. For instance, a particle, you can only assume where it's at, right? You can never see where it's at, and you can only see one of two things about it. You can either see where it's been, or its spin, but you can't see both at the same time, right?
It's not
And
quite
so-
right. But I mean, look, all I'm saying is that just because there are some things that you can prove that you can't know about, like you can prove that you can't know with at least within like certain axiomatic sets, you can prove that you can't know like the 9th busy beaver number. You can prove that it's unknowable within a certain set of axioms. That doesn't mean that there are things that are knowable, or that doesn't mean that there aren't things that are knowable. Like for example, like I said, we can prove that in standard arithmetic axioms that there are no whole numbers between 5 and 6. Even while we also know that you cannot prove that the continuum hypothesis is true. Again, within the same set of axioms. So, like, just because there are things that are unknowable, that doesn't mean you can't that doesn't mean that you can't disprove God.
No, and that, again, that's fair. That's almost an objective way or a subjective way to look at that. That's not objective, unfortunately. But
what?
Because that's not what that's saying. It's essentially saying that we can draw the conclusion that there's an object outside of that set. We can use that.
Right, but sets. So to be clear, if we're talking about mathematical objects, you can sets are not
it's an allegory,
this.
right?
Sets are not everything. Well, if it's an
allegory.
So if it's an allegory, well, proofs don't survive allegory, right? Proofs are about specific things. So Gödel's proofs are specifically about certain sets. I'm using the word sets. That's funny. About certain groups of axioms in certain like universes of set theory. If you're using an allegory and you're not referring to those things, then the theorems don't apply.
Well, but I mean, again, it does if it's all contained within. So
No, it
everything
doesn't.
is
Like
the
it, like
creation- right.
all theorems have
Go ahead.
hypotheses. If the hypotheses are not satisfied, then the theorem doesn't follow.
Okay, right. So what I'm saying though, for instance, right, if we were to create a 1-to-1 scale replica of the universe on a simulation, right, not using any DLSS or anything else like that, particle per particle, it would take a
Which you
universe
can't do,
size.
but sure.
Right, exactly, right? So all of the information contained within our universe, right, is within that set, that bubble. We'll just call it a bubble then. If I say God exists outside of that bubble, you cannot comprehend what his power is and what he can do within that set. Obviously you can, because you know your own rules, but you don't know the rules outside of this realm of information, right? And
I mean,
there's no way
so given that, so there are certainly things that we can still rule out, right? Like, for example, you can rule out a God that both, I don't know, you can rule out a God that says that sorry, I'm trying to come up with a good example that's not contrived. If you had a God that said that God takes on a that God always exists eternally within our universe in a corporeal form, sitting on top of Mount Olympus, you can prove that God doesn't exist because you can just go check on Mount Olympus that there is no guy.
100%.
Right. So just because you can't know everything about, the entire set of noble things doesn't mean that you can't rule out certain notions of God.
Well, and a lot of those notions are false claims, to be fair, and misunderstood concepts. Not everything everybody says about God is going to be the exact way it was actually said to begin with, and therefore you're looking for.
But my point is that Christianity is not special in this regard. There are claims that Christianity makes about the God about the way that the God of Christianity interacts with our world, and those claims lead to contradictions. They lead to or at least in standard versions of Christianity, those claims lead to contradictions, which means that we have reason to believe that version of Christianity is false. That God doesn't exist.
And unfortunately, again, that's why I said titles kind of suck to apply in this case, because everything across all religions has been changed multiple times, and then there's evidence of that. And so I'm not going to disprove that at all. I can't, because it's the other otherwise it's been changed. But what I'm saying though is specifically Christianity. The only reason why it's called Christianity is called Christos. What they called him, or they didn't even see him. They just said that there was a guy named Christos.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus did exist. He would not have titled anything. He never did title anything. And he also said he was Son of Man. So there's...
So I shouldn't have brought that up, because that just took us down a really deep rabbit hole. All I'm saying is it sounds like you're just... No, it's fine. It's not your fault. It's my fault. All you're saying is, it sounds like you're just saying, well, what if there's a God that just doesn't interact with the world and just exists out there in the universe? Well,
the interactions are not perceivable.
Yeah, well, okay, but then do I have any reason to believe that it exists?
I didn't say this, but somebody else did. It's up to you anyways. It's faith is faith. It's the personal
Come
relationship.
on. I thought we were going to talk about something.
No. Well, but that's besides the point of what you're asking, is what I was going to say. But no, you're right. That isn't a reason per se.
Okay, then it doesn't sound like you've given me a good reason to believe in God.
Well, I mean, why? First of all, that's a big thing that I have actually a problem with is the convincing part. It's why would we want to convince you?
Some people want to. Not everybody does. Some people do.
And yes, he did say to do so, but at the same time, he also said he knows whose hearts are hardened. So it's like some of you cannot be changed anyways.
Well,
but if you're even thinking about it, right, like you are, it means you are open to the possibility.
Yeah,
so
that's why I'm asking for evidence.
Start.
But if you're not providing me any, then I don't know where we go from here.
Well, again, the whole point of the math problem in the beginning was the evidence that I could provide would be substantial at best, and also totally subjective. You know what I mean? And any disproving fact that you give would be, again, totally subjective. Because we don't have all of the numbers of the answers. Sorry, I just wanted to bring that math problem up there for everybody to kind of listen to.
All right.
And
I'm gonna let you know. Well, go now, Grubs. Is that okay?
Let's have a great day. You guys have a great day.
All right. Take care.
God bless. Yep.
All right. Let's talk to. I think, has Dispute been here a while? Dispute, can you hear me? Dispute.
I can hear you.
Great. Do you believe in God?
I would say I'm largely agnostic.
Oh, actually, before we start, sorry, I want to make sure that I thank people who sent me money, which is from Vicky for thanks for all you do for $5 on Cash App. Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate you. All right, so you say you're agnostic. Why do you want it? So do you believe in God then? Because the background says, can you convince me to believe in your God? So if you're agnostic, then it doesn't sound like you can even convince yourself.
I think there are good arguments on both sides.
Okay, but it's not yours, and you don't think that there's good enough to be convinced. I'm going to let you go, but let's bring up One Mo. One Mo, how's it going?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm doing okay. Do you believe in God?
I do.
Okay, and which one is that? Just for context.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, great. And what would you say is the most compelling argument or reason or evidence that you could give me that would, convince me that that's true?
Sure. So I would like to make the argument from like a kind of you call it what you will, but a man-to-man perspective.
Sure.
I think that the most healthiest lifestyle for a man is following Jesus Christ. I don't think you need to believe that he's God at first to be a Christian. I think you can be a Christian and follow Christ, and then later on you can come to the realization that he is God. But I think that Christianity is the superior lifestyle for men.
Okay, so let's suppose that that's true. I don't think that that's true, but let's
Mhm.
suppose it's true for the sake of
Mhm.
argument. Why would that make me think that Christianity is true? It might make me think that Christianity is useful, that it has utility,
Uh-huh.
that believing in it is good for society. But
Uh-huh.
what does that have anything to do with it being true?
Well, like I said, the belief that Jesus Christ is God can come later on.
Well, but I'm interested in the
But
reason why I
you
should
agree
believe
that
that that's the
Jesus,
case.
uh,
You there?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hello?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, sorry. So the prompt is, can I convince you to believe in my God, right?
Yep.
And I don't think I need to convince you that Jesus Christ is real, because I think you'll acknowledge that he was a real person. So you already believe in my God.
No,
You
no, I
just
believe
don't
in a
believe in his
man.
miracles yet.
To be clear, I
Right,
believe
but
in
you
a
don't believe,
man.
right,
You think that that man is a
right, but
god. I don't think that that god
well, you could.
exists.
Do you not idolize men?
It depends on what you mean by idolize. There are people I respect, people I look up to.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think that a man could exist whose lifestyle is so good that you would want to mimic that lifestyle?
I mean, it's in principle possible.
Yeah. So all I need to do is convince you that Jesus Christ's lifestyle is the one that you should idol, and you should live more like Christ. And later
But
on, the belief that he is God can come.
I mean, you could try to convince me of that if you wanted to. That's just not what the
Yeah.
that's just not what the prompt is.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I get you to believe in my God? Well, I mean, what's God to you?
A being that is responsible for creating and or maintaining the universe.
So that's your definition of God?
Yeah, sure.
So
It's a pretty
is
simple
that
one.
what you're trying to get me to? So that's what you're actually trying to get me to convince you
Well,
of,
I
is
mean,
that Jesus Christ did all that?
I mean, there might be a whole slew of other things on top of that, but that's like the bare bones definition, right? Now, you might
But
say
what if I told you
Jesus
Jesus Christ
Christ.
didn't? What if I told you Jesus Christ didn't do any of that, and
Well,
that I just want you to believe in him and follow in his footsteps,
then I would say
and
that
then
that's
that
a
it's
different
the most
conversation.
healthiest thing for you?
I would just say that that's a
Well,
different
no, because
conversation.
he's my God. Well, I
I
would
don't
say
know what you
God
mean
is
by God.
anybody that somebody worships, right? God is
Okay, well,
anybody that somebody worships,
I,
right?
I don't worship anybody, so I
Well,
don't.
right, but I'm saying you should worship Jesus Christ.
Why? And by the way, worshiping somebody
Because
again doesn't
because
make them a
he
god.
because his way of life is superior to all other ways of life.
Okay, that's cool. Doesn't make him a god.
But it does
A
to
person.
me.
Oh, okay. So if by God all you
Don't
mean
you
is
do you
some
agree
cool
that God
guy.
is subjective? Don't
So
you agree that God is subjective?
so if by God you just mean some guy that a bunch of people worship,
Mm-hmm.
well, I can agree that there are people that people worship. That yeah, that like people
Mm-hmm.
worship kings and stuff. That I don't think that kings don't exist. I mean a very specific thing when I'm talking about God. And if you're not talking about that specific thing, then this is just not the conversation that I want to have. It's just not a
Well, no,
conversation I
that
care
is
about,
what
really.
I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm
Then
agreeing
it's
with
just
you that God is subjective, right?
okay. Then we don't have much to say then. And I think that was Jesse. I think you're right. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Jesse because he was complaining about Jesse as well in the chat. Um, All right, we have another. Let's bring up another guest. Let's bring out Cry Out Faith. Cry Out Faith. How's it going?
Hello, hello.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Which one?
All of them.
All of them. Do you believe that all of them created the universe?
No.
Okay, which one do you believe created the universe?
I believe that, I guess we'll put it this way. Existence itself is a god, and there are other gods that are different, but so the way that I believe in God is, put it this way. If you have a desire to do something, or
Okay,
if you
sorry, I have to
desire
shortcut this because I don't have a whole lot of time. Do you believe that there is a mind that created the universe?
No, not an intelligent one.
Okay, that's just not what I'm talking about then. Alfarios, how's it going?
Hello, can you hear me?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Do you believe in God?
I do. I believe in
And which one?
Gibber's Crasps, giant fire-breathing lobster that lives behind the rings of Saturn.
Ah, okay.
I believe he is a more believable god than any of the other gods permitted today.
I might agree with you. All right, let's talk to George's. George's, how's it going?
Hello.
Do you believe in God? I'm doing all right, thanks.
Yeah. I
Okay.
start believing. Yeah.
Which one?
I'm Christian, but it's not really about God. It's like I started, just to think like, if you talk a bit about theoretical physics, if we let's say about currently the holographic theory specifically. So they were recently saying
Wait,
that.
so are you saying that you don't want to talk about God?
I won't, but I want to try to relate things a bit.
Okay. So you're going to give me an argument for why I should believe that God exists, right?
Yeah, like not God, but maybe higher consciousness,
Okay, go ahead.
Something higher than that.
Sure.
So what we see like in the universe, in our universe, we know that first Einstein told us that time is not really real, right? So it's emergent. It's not fundamental in our world. So this is a big it's a big problem, because
Okay.
if time isn't real, then
So what's the argument?
So the argument is a bit like if time isn't really fundamental, and we can actually not physically, but like if you're able to get to the speed of light, you can bend time, so all these things really. So it's maybe we're just like a big projection, like all the possibilities of everything, and like our present, if you want, we're just one piece of this whole thing. And if we take it a bit through like the holographic principle, this can a bit prove that we're just the reflection of a 2D universe.
Okay, what does this have to do with God?
So maybe God is just like the plane. This is it. And
God is the plane. Does God have a mind?
It's not really about God. I don't know. It's not a bit like there's something higher than, it's not like, it's a bit higher of a question to, I think, to ask ourselves.
Well, I'm
Like,
interested.
I don't have the answer,
I'm interested
but I'm saying-
in answering the question whether a mind whether there is a mind that exists that's responsible for creating and or maintaining the universe.
Okay. Well, personally, I don't think first that a brain means consciousness because, even plants exhibit this behavior. A lot of things that doesn't really have a brain can really communicate and do things. And I think just a bit, it's fascinating that we were only able to be born because of a parasite that was don't know how many million years ago. So it's really like it's more of a sequence of things. Like we're not here from nothing, and we won't be here like forever. And I would say just the universe doesn't have a start and an end. It's just a cycle. Just like
Okay.
just like the play.
So,
yeah.
so Georgios, it seems like we're kind of like not talking about the same thing when we talk about God. So I'm gonna let you go, just because it didn't seem like we were actually talking about much. That unfortunately that is my last guest. It is noon. I'm hungry. I need to go eat lunch. Make myself some coffee. So I will be live tomorrow for Ask a Physicist Day. Every Tuesday and Wednesday is Ask a Physicist Day, and I will see you guys then. If you want to stick around, if you want to get announcements about when I'm live, about when I post new videos, make sure to join the Discord. There's a link in the description of the YouTube video that you're currently watching this on. There's also a link in the link tree in my bio on TikTok to join the Discord. Just come join. Like lots of like-minded people. You can talk about the live. You can ask questions. Lots of cool stuff. Yeah, so I will see you guys tomorrow. If I don't see you tomorrow, then, you know, log on tomorrow.